Footage of a large, broad-shouldered figure moving through the trees was captured right up close. A massive predator swims just beneath the surface, dragging a bloated cow carcass through the water. And on Navajo land in Arizona, a strange figure was caught on camera. Locals say it matches stories that go back generations. These are cryptids caught clearly on camera in 2025. Well, you wanted clear footage of a cryptid. Here it is. It's not often we get supposed Sasquatch footage this clear and up close. Usually these videos are shot from a distance and the creature is almost impossible to make out. I know I say this almost every time I show a Bigfoot video, but understand that I sift through a lot of garbage and I just don't bother putting most of these videos on lists like this because these videos aren't meant to put you to sleep. Although if you use them for that, I'm not offended. Close your eyes, go back to bed. Is this video genuine though? I mean, how can I say for sure? I do like it, I'll say that. There's more going on here than a monkey suit from Party City. This thing looks to have some bulk to it. There's color variation in the fur. If it is a hoax, I think it's pretty well done. Well, this is a freaky piece of footage. Not only is there a massive dead cow floating through the water, there's something under it. Gonna guess that something was involved in the death of the cow. I mean, good lord, look at the size of this thing. There's a full-on dinosaur swimming in this river. Of course, this is a croc or a gator. I couldn't actually find where this video was filmed, but the thing is an absolute beast. I know, very insightful of me. Take a look at this strange photo. Picture was snapped on Navajo land between cornfields and Greasewood, Arizona. It's been making the rounds on social media lately. According to the person who shared it, her aunt snapped the picture at the end of a small canyon after hearing weird noises while tending livestock on her property. There's not much more info about it, other than claims that the creature was seen again a few days later. The family chose not to go after it. They figured it was best to just leave it alone. Wise. Apparently stories about creatures like this have been told in the area for generations though. What do you think of this one? Only explanation that I have outside of this being a genuine Sasquatch, of course, is a black bear. There are black bears in Arizona. I'm not sure if they frequent this specific area. If anyone from Arizona can enlighten me in the comments, that would be great. A video from Buenos Aires this week has gotten people talking about possible demons or something strange. Very strange. This short blurry clip that's been getting shared around quite a bit on social media, at least on the forums I check out, shows what looks like a street or garden in Argentina. Here we can see some sort of bizarre dark figure crawling on all fours toward the camera while a few dogs walk around in the background. The creature seems to have very long spindly limbs, but it's hard to see clearly because it's dark and the video quality isn't really the best. Local news says this happened in the town of Saladillo, and people living there are reportedly scared of whatever it was. Some witnesses have called it demonic and say it has inhuman agility that lets it climb walls and jump between trees. A local firefighter who didn't want to give his name said that, quote, something was going on. Another witness added, he's something big. He doesn't walk on all fours, he walks backwards. He's disjointed, he comes apart, his head is upside down while his body moves in an impossible way. All of that said in Spanish. Of course, this series of photos were posted to Reddit a couple weeks back by SnakeTree1911, who wrote, I work as a land steward in the northeastern part of the US. Part of my job is reviewing images taken by our game cams. We recently pulled a cam from a fairly remote area, which hasn't been checked in a long time. These images caught my eye. None of the naturalists on our staff could ID this thing. I'm not sure if I believe in cryptids or whatever, but I don't know what this thing is. It's not a deer, it certainly isn't a bobcat, and if it's a black bear, it's the biggest one I've ever seen. I included a daytime photo so you can see that it's not just some weird shaped rock or whatever. I don't know, let me know what you think. And I will pose that same question to all you fine people watching. What do you think? What you're looking at here is some of the most infamous sea creature footage ever filmed. Over in eastern Turkey, there's a massive body of water called Lake Van. It's the largest lake in the country, stretching about 75 miles across in some places and dropping more than 1,400 feet deep. For years, people living around the lake have talked about something big moving through the water. the Lake Van monster. The modern sightings really started piling up in 1995. People along the shoreline started reporting a huge creature swimming just under the surface. Witnesses described this long, dark body moving through the water with several humps rising behind it. Some estimated the creature could be 40 to 50 feet long, with a thick body and a head that occasionally lifted above the water before disappearing again. Then in 1997, a man named Unal Kozak captured this incredible footage on camera. Kozak, who was working at a nearby university at the time, filmed the thing gliding across the surface of the lake. The clip quickly spread, and suddenly people all over Turkey were talking about what might be living in the lake. The story's become such a big part of the area that the nearby city of Van even put up a statue of the creature along the lakeshore. For the people who live around Lake Van, this thing isn't some legend. It's something we've been talking about for decades. And plenty of them are convinced there's still something living out there in that water. What on God's green earth is this abomination? This next entry comes from a now deleted Reddit user who wrote, "So I've had this trail camera set up behind my cabin for about 7 months now. It's mainly there to see what animals come through the area. Usually it's the same stuff every week. Deer, raccoons, foxes, sometimes a black bear if I'm lucky. Nothing unusual. Last night though, the camera triggered at 3:17 a.m. and this image was the only thing it recorded. What's weird is that the camera normally takes a short burst of photos whenever motion triggers it. Usually you get 3 or 4 shots in a row of the animal walking through the frame, but this time there was just this single photo, and then nothing else before or after. But damn is that one photo terrifying. At first I thought maybe it was a coyote with mange, but the legs look way too long and the body shape looks all wrong. It looks more upright than a normal animal would. The eyes are also throwing me off. I know animals can have that reflective glow from infrared cameras, but these look really bright compared to the deer photos I normally get. For context, this is taken about 40 yards behind my cabin, right at the edge of the woods. Has anyone seen anything like this before? I'm genuinely curious what this could be. This video's been floating around the internet for a long time. I've never talked about it on the channel before though. So back in 2006, a strange video started circulating online that supposedly came from somewhere in the forests of Norway. The clip shows 2 guys driving late at night, joking around in their car while music plays on the radio. At some point, they leave the main highway and take a rough shortcut through a fenced-off forest road. They drive deeper and deeper into the woods until they eventually stop the car after noticing something strange out in the darkness. The guys step out of the car, looking toward the trees. The forest is completely dark, but you can hear odd noises coming from somewhere, like low grunts and squealing sounds, kind of like a pig. And as you see, suddenly something moves. Out of the darkness, a pale figure appears and charges toward them. As for what the creature is, it's hard to make out. The video quality isn't great, seeing as this is a 20-year-old video at this point. I can't believe 2006 is 20 years ago. Some say the thing looks like a strange humanoid shape with a wide open mouth and what looks like a hood, maybe a flap of skin hanging over its head. Something the head shape looks almost pig-like. This strange video comes from Richard Gremnick on YouTube. He'd spotted something in his backyard and pulled out his iPad to try and get some footage of it. Right from the jump, he's calling up his pastor named Mike to tell him what's going on.
People think I'm nuts. It's on video, it's playing right now. I put the iPad in the window and now this thing's coming up to the steps in my backyard, Mike.
Goes on to say that this was the second time in the week he'd seen the thing. It's this pale-looking creature, kind of like a rake or Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Richard describes it looking almost like a gargoyle, though.
Oh my God, like a gargoyle. It's like a gargoyle, man. And it's like 35 feet away, and it came out of those weeds. You know what I'm talking about?
The thing retreats back into the bush after a while, but before Richard has a chance to calm down and collect his thoughts, it creeps out again. At this point, his pastor is reciting a prayer.
Oh my God, there it is, Mike. It came back. Oh my gosh. This thing is looking weird. Oh my gosh.
Luckily, with the power of Mike the pastor, the creature slowly skulks back into the bush for a second time, just when the call disconnects. Did a fisherman just capture footage of the real-life gill man? Apparently a guy was fishing near Barnegat Bay in eastern New Jersey when he saw something poke its head out of the water. He had no idea what he was looking at. The more he looked at it, the thing just kept rising and rising until the whole upper half of its body was out of the water, and it was clear that this was not your ordinary animal. I mean, yikes. How'd you like to be swimming in the water with this thing? I gotta say, this creature looks pretty convincing. It definitely gives me the ick, but there are a couple fun comments that I wanna mention as well. One person says, "This is BS. If anyone saw that, they'd run, not record for 3 minutes," which, fair enough. I can see where they're coming from there, but someone else responded, "It's called a stare down. The person out of fear and the frog out of confusion. Hence the term scared stiff." Also a good point, but I really just love that they called this thing a frog. And also someone else commented, "This is what happens when people stop eating frog legs." People just love calling this guy a frog. I don't know what frogs you people are looking at, but anyway. This next clip was shared by Sunny Vader on YouTube. The footage was captured by campers in Clearwater County, Alberta last month. The uploader had been tearing down their camp when they spotted this large, dark figure lurking in the trees nearby. He managed to quietly capture the thing on camera before it made its way back into the woods. They probably thought it was a bear at first, but after zooming in on the thing with the camera, they probably immediately changed their mind. It seems to be standing upright. Not that bears can't do that, but they usually won't for very long. It looks to me like this is a massive, hairy ape man spying on a couple hikers in the woods. On March 21st, something strange was spotted floating low over the rooftops in Saladin, Iraq, and yes, there's video of it. So as you can see, this strange object has a very odd shape. It looks like you took a flying saucer and then made it vertical. It almost looks like Boba Fett's Slave One from Star Wars. It also looks like it has these long trailing tendrils like a jellyfish, not like any drone I've ever seen. The object drifted smoothly over the buildings and a local managed to capture it on camera. The clip quickly spread online, just another piece of video to add to the growing list of UFO sightings this year. People who saw it described it as otherworldly and eerily silent. Some think it might be high-tech military equipment, others think this may actually be proof of something not from this world. But what do you all think? Now, stepping away from frogmen, aliens, and Sasquatch for a moment, let's talk about some mysterious jellyfish that were spotted just a few months back. The video shows two types of jellyfish that no one's ever seen before. At least ones that haven't been documented by science. The footage comes from researchers at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. First up is this one here. A very bizarre looking creature. It's so hard to make sense of. It's just so different from anything we see day to day here on land. Almost looks like it belongs in space. As one of the researchers said while filming the thing though, "I've never seen one of those. Have you?" And then another researcher's like, "Nope." They also captured footage of this smaller jellyfish. NOAA scientists couldn't identify this one either. Both were found during a deep sea dive off the northeastern coast of the US near Newport, Rhode Island. We see so many supposed videos of Bigfoot, but barely ever any dogman videos. Well, that all changes today. This dashcam footage comes out of Bladensboro, North Carolina. A man drove up to his property late at night when he got the fright of his life. Some big, hairy creature had been lurking just outside his home, but his headlights hit it and the thing scuttled off into the trees. Not in the most graceful manner, I must add. This dogman is rather, dainty in its movements, does this kind of toddler hop as it moves away. It can't be too hard on Dogman though. He's not as used to being in the spotlight, always being outshined by the ever so famous Sasquatch. This is a rather famous photograph in cryptid circles, said to be a massive creature shot dead and put up on display at a museum in Arizona. Supposedly, it's a thunderbird. The thunderbird comes from Native American legends. It's usually described as a gigantic bird with wings that can stretch close to 20 feet across. According to the stories, when it beats those huge wings, it can actually create thunder and lightning storms. People in Arizona have claimed to see birds that size flying overhead, especially around the Grand Canyon, and some of those sightings have happened fairly recently. But one of the most well-known stories goes all the way back to the late 1800s. 2 cowboys near Tombstone said they spotted a massive bird sitting on a rocky ledge out in the desert. They fired at it several times and eventually brought it down. Story goes, they hauled the creature back into town and put it on display in a local shop so that people could come and see it for themselves. But that's far from the only story. Over the years, plenty of people have claimed to see enormous birds flying over Arizona. Some say they looked like a giant condors with huge feathered wings. Others insist the shape looked more like something prehistoric, almost like a pterodactyl gliding through the sky. For years, the colossal squid has been one of the ocean's most mysterious giants. People have known the animal exists for a little bit now, but almost everything we know about it comes from pieces pulled out of fishing nets or from beaks found inside the stomachs of sperm whales. Nobody had actually seen one alive down in the deep ocean where it lives. That finally changed during a deep-sea expedition in March of 2025. Researchers exploring the South Atlantic Ocean near the South Sandwich Islands were sending a remotely operated submersible down in the darkness about 600 meters or nearly 2,000 feet below. While the cameras were scanning the water, something floated into view. This pale, almost glass-like squid slowly moving through the black water. And when researchers later looked at the footage, they realized what it actually was. The cameras had just captured the first confirmed video of a living colossal squid in its natural habitat. The squid in the video was still young, only about 30 centimeters long, roughly a foot, which is tiny compared to what the species can eventually become. Fully grown colossal squids can reach around 7 meters or about 23 feet long and weigh over 1,000 pounds. Even at that small size, the animal already had some of the characteristics that make the species so unique. Colossal squids have rotating hooks on their arms and tentacles, which they use to grab their prey. Unlike most squid that rely mainly on suction cups, these hooks act almost like grappling hooks. What the heck is this thing? This weird video was originally posted on LiveLeak by a user named Eknif. Apparently the footage was captured by Thai fishermen. I have no idea what I'm looking at here, and neither did the fishermen. The shape of it though, with the long neck and the flippers, it almost looks like a baby plesiosaur, kind of like Nessie. But some commenters say it could be a turtle without its shell. Not sure about that though. I've looked up turtles without shells. They don't have this shape. This thing's body isn't round like a sea turtle's, but what do you all think? Couldn't do a video like this without at least one Sasquatch video. The footage comes from Ericus Maximus on YouTube, who was out ATV riding with his kid in Gum Hill, West Virginia, when they spotted this large hairy creature trudge across the river ahead of them. Check this out. The thing clearly wasn't moving like a bear. In the video description, he said that the footage was captured around 6:30 p.m. It was the second time he'd seen the creature, but the first time he managed to capture it on video. There have been stories about this 7-foot-tall hairy creature for over 100 years. Supposedly, it's quite reclusive and non-aggressive, but what do you think about this video? Genuine, Bigfoot-like creature captured on camera, or is this one just a hoax? Share your thoughts down below. Watch this kayaker get swallowed by a whale. Don't worry though, it spits him back out. Adrian Simancas and his father Del were out kayaking together in the freezing waters of southern Chile. They were paddling along when a massive humpback whale suddenly breached right beneath Adrian's kayak, and within a split second, the whale's enormous mouth just engulfed both Adrian and his boat, dragging them underwater. Del was paddling just yards away and watched the entire thing happen, managed to capture the horrifying moment on camera as well, desperately trying to keep his composure, shouting for his son to stay calm the second he popped back up to the surface. The whale realized that it hadn't caught a fish and spit Adrian right back out just after a few seconds. I mean, it must have felt like minutes though. Reflecting, Adrian said, "I thought I was dead. I thought it had eaten me, that it had swallowed me." Even after the whale let him go, the danger was not over though. Adrian was now stranded in frigid ocean water. When I came up and started floating, I was scared that something might happen to my father too, that we wouldn't reach the shore in time, or that I would get hypothermia, Adrian continued. Fortunately, he managed to swim over and grab onto his dad's kayak. Del pulled him out of the water, and they both made it back to shore completely uninjured. This next video was uploaded to the YouTube channel Joel L'Esperance way back in 2006, simply titled "Bear Stalks Man," with a description reading, "Friend being stalked by a bear." And as the guy behind the camera says in the first 5 seconds of the video,
all right, this is me being stalked by a bear.
Yeah, I think we have a pretty good idea of what we're in for here. Joking aside though, this footage is terrifying. I mean, just watch how the bear walks out of the trees here. And he just keeps backing up, yelling at it, trying to get it to back off. But the bear continues to follow. Armed only with a large stick, he continues backing up all the way down this hill, trying to make it back to camp. But the bear is just not letting up. And then you hear it almost charge.
Whoa! 400 meters from camp. Whoa!
Around this point, he stops filming. But what happened in the end? Well, the man lived, the bear did not. His friend, who was the one who uploaded the footage to YouTube, posted an update writing, "He gets close enough to camp where the bear can smell the food in the kitchen." He was then able to get a hold of the firearm and cap the mofo. Northern Saskatchewan, for those of you wondering. On September 25th, 2025, security cameras in a parking lot in Russia captured this terrifying close call between a man and a massive brown bear. The man was just walking across the lot toward his car, while another vehicle was backing into a spot nearby. But just on the other side of the parking lot's wall was a large brown bear. The second the car backed into space, the bear climbed right over the wall and dropped into the lot. Luckily, the man spotted the bear just a split second before it lunged over the wall straight at him. With zero time to run to his own car, he bolted to the nearest vehicle, tore open the back door, and dove into the back seat. Slammed the door shut at the absolute last possible second. The charging bear slammed hard against the car, swiping its massive paws at the exact spot where the man's head had just been moments before. The bear spent a few seconds battering the vehicle trying to get in, before finally giving up and running off to chase another moving car. This is a pretty famous case. On March 23rd, 1994, 19-year-old Heather Boswell was swimming with crewmates from a NOAA research ship in the South Pacific when someone suddenly yelled, "Shark." The shark hit another swimmer first, leaving him badly injured. Heather immediately turned and started swimming back toward the ship. She later said, "I started swimming as fast as I could. Then I felt something grab my leg and jerk me. I turned and saw its fin." It was a great white, around 14 feet long. The shark grabbed her right leg, then came back and clamped onto her left leg, pulling her underwater. Heather said, "He was moving his head back and forth, shaking me really hard. I thought I was going to die." Crew members rushed to help and managed to grab her arms from a small boat. At the same time, though, the shark was still holding her leg. In Heather's own words, "It was a tug of war, and then I felt a pop. I thought it was my hip dislocating, but that's when I lost my leg." The shark had severed her left leg around mid-thigh. Witnesses said it turned toward another crew member who was climbing out of the water before shots from the ship finally drove it away. All of this, as you can see, was captured on camera, making for one of the most disturbing wildlife attacks ever caught on camera. A wildlife technician was hiking through the Idaho backcountry on a pretty grim mission. She was looking for a dead deer. The deer had been wearing a GPS collar, and since it stopped moving, she had to hike out there to figure out what happened to it. But as she got close to the carcass, she realized that she had walked right into a pretty dangerous situation. An adult mountain lion and 2 juveniles were right there, and they were not about to give up their meal. Now, mountain lions will usually run the second they see a human, but a mother guarding her cubs with the fresh meal lying there, it become a completely different animal. The lion stood her ground. It was refusing to back away. Well, it was actually following her. The technician tried to sound as intimidating as possible, screaming, "Go on, get," over and over while blasting an air horn. She didn't turn her back and run, which would have triggered the lion's instinct to hunt her. Instead, she kept her eyes locked on the cats and just slowly backed away. She made it out of there safely, but if she'd panicked, things would have gone very differently. What would you do if you were driving down a desolate road late at night and came across this? I'm guessing we'd all do the same thing the driver did, throw the car in reverse and cancel whatever plans you had down that road. This video was posted to X a few weeks ago by God Knows DGJ1. Was captured somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, regardless of what's actually going on here, this is a pretty unsettling sight. What makes it especially creepy to me is the stillness. The buffalo almost completely still, and the kid's just sitting there staring. The only thing moving are his hands, doing this weird thing. It's very robotic. Now, the reason why this is on a list of cryptids, though, is because some wonder if this is actually footage of something called a tokoloshe, a mischievous evil spirit from southern African folklore. People usually describe it as a small, almost dwarf-like creature. It's often said to be sent by someone with bad intentions to cause trouble. That trouble can range from frightening children to causing illness and, in some stories, even death. Some legends describe how a tokoloshe is created with a jealous person going to a witch doctor who performs a ritual, sometimes involving a dead body, to shrink it and then send it after the target. Back in 2022, this security camera in Mexico captured something genuinely strange. The footage captures this strange floating shape drifting over some bushes before settling in someone's yard. Slowly, it drifts up a hill and onto the road, twisting and morphing as it moves, even taking on a form that almost looks human. You might think it's just a trick of the camera or a cheap edit, but the dogs in the yard, they saw it too, and they totally lose it, barking like crazy and then just standing there completely baffled. The clip went viral on Twitter, and no one's been able to figure out exactly what it is. Whatever it was, those dogs were definitely freaked out though. A few years ago, this eerie piece of home security camera footage made its way onto Reddit. A woman steps out of her house to grab something, but keep your eyes on the garbage bins. A ghostly shape moves past them and right into the back door. Take a look. I know that home security cams can be iffy at times, but this doesn't look like a camera issue to me. It also doesn't look like cigarette smoke drifting through the yard or anything like that. Whatever this shape is, it moves with purpose. Now, at first it appears as this vague floating form, but as it gets closer to the door, you can almost make out a human shape before it moves off camera, right into the home. What exactly is it? Something mundane, like a light reflection or a glitch, or was something paranormal caught on camera that night? This video got quite a bit of traction online when it was first posted. There were articles about it and everything. On a small island in Brazil called Ilha do Mel, these figures were spotted on a hilltop. Headlines described them as being 10-foot tall aliens. Eyewitness Sarah Delate says she was hiking with her family when they suddenly spotted them up on the hill. She explained that it wasn't possible to reach the hilltop where they stood. Now, according to Sarah, the figures moved incredibly fast and looked around 10 feet tall, definitely not your average hikers. A spokesperson of Parana State joked, "Our summer is from another world. Even strange beings come here to enjoy our coastline." Some commenters think it's probably just a couple people who did manage to climb up there, but others think the figures look especially tall and lanky, slightly inhuman. What do you think of this video though? Share your thoughts down below. Two hikers got more than they bargained for while exploring Long's Peak, one of Colorado's tallest mountains in the Rocky Mountain National Park. Jesse Clausen, 29, and Camille Avarella, 28, were descending the steep trail on August 24th when they unknowingly captured something strange in the background of a photo as a lanky gray figure clinging to the side of the rock face. Clausen described the moment they first noticed it weeks later. "I was shocked to the bone when we were looking at the picture. We didn't see anything. We didn't take the picture because we saw that thing. We just took it because the mountain range was pretty," she said. They'd set off at 2 a.m. determined to reach the 14,000-foot peak by dusk. Clausen said they were in full adrenaline mode and weren't really paying attention. It wasn't until they were at home sharing the photos on a big TV screen that they saw the odd figure. Camille's dad said, "What the hell? That thing is at least 20 foot or so." And Camille was like, "Should we call the Rangers?" We were all like, "What the hell is that?" Avarella added, "It could be a rock, but it has all the features of something that is human. The anatomy is so human-like, it's freaky as hell." This next case is incredibly tragic. Hiking through a forest in Greece, 61-year-old Christos Stavrianidis and his friend Dimitris had just finished exploring an old aircraft wreck when Christos walked over to a cliffside to take in the view. He never could have imagined he was looking at his final moments. While looking out over the ravine, Christos spotted a massive adult male brown bear moving through the bushes. Unaware of the imminent danger, Christos actually started filming the animal, calling out to it. He called over to Dimitris to come take a look. But as the bear got closer, Christos realized things were turning bad. He yelled for his friend to throw him a large bottle of pepper spray. Suddenly, Christos started coughing though, and the bear heard the noise. Instantly locking onto him, and it charged. Christos managed to hit the bear with a small spray that he had on him, but a half-ton animal lunged, hitting Christos with enough force to knock him completely off the edge of the cliff. He died instantly. The bear then turned to Demetrius, but Christos' dog jumped in between them, buying Demetrius just enough time to grab his own pepper spray and scare the bear off. This is footage of a surfer being attacked by a shark live on TV. On July 19th, 2015, Mick Fanning and another surfer were waiting for a wave. Something moved in the water behind Fanning. A shark came up on him from the back and bumped straight into his surfboard and leash. Fanning swung and punched at it while trying to keep his board between him and the animal. In the chaos, the shark got tangled in his leash though, and dragged him around for a bit before snapping it off the board. That's when Fanning and the surfer turned and started paddling hard back toward the safety boats. A rescue boat reached them and got both surfers out of the water. Thankfully, neither were injured, and yeah, this was all filmed live. Millions of people watched it unfold in real time. Fanning later said he didn't understand why it didn't bite him, just that he felt lucky to walk away from it all. He was back in the water not long after this. Elephants are beautiful animals, and we often don't picture them being aggressive, but if they feel threatened or feel a need to protect their young, you could be met with a charging elephant like this. Jeff Melvin and Larry Unrein were on a canoe safari in Botswana when they started noticing something off with a herd of elephants nearby. Melvin said, "We kept saying that they were kind of getting a little annoyed at our presence, and then just in the blink of an eye, things kind of changed. What they didn't see at the time was a mother elephant with two calves hidden in the tall grass. A few moments later, the elephant came straight out of the reeds and charged the canoes. Two of the boats were hit and flipped, throwing people straight into the water." Melvin said, "The first thought that came to my mind was, this is the end of me." The elephant kept moving through the water, and at one point knocked a woman down with its trunk and held her there briefly before she managed to get free and reach her husband. Guides moved in to quickly get people out, while others tried to swim or wade through the shallow water. After it was over, Unrein said, "I thought for sure I was dead, and then once I was safe, it was just jubilation. I was very happy to be alive." Pretty scary thought being out in the middle of the ocean, imagining some large animal swimming under your boat and knocking you overboard. That's what happened to this guy. And even better, it was a great white. This happened off the coast of South Africa in January 2016. A fisherman watched as a shark was chasing some fish near his kayak, and then it started heading straight for him. Absolutely terrifying. But in a total frenzied panic, he's able to climb back into his kayak. These images may not look like much at first glance, but let's dig into the backstory here. So in November of 2005, a hiker named Randy Chase was near the top of Silver Star Mountain in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest, and something unusual caught his eye across a snowy ridge. He lifted his camera and took a few pictures of what looked like this dark, upright figure moving down the hill. After that first shot, the subject stood up or shifted. Chase snapped 2 more photos as it walked away into the snow-covered terrain. A week after these pictures were taken, Chase was interviewed by John Callender from the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, or BFRO. Callender described Chase as honest and familiar with the outdoors and said the photos didn't look staged or hoax. Chase never claimed he knew exactly what he saw, just that it didn't look like another hiker or snowshoer. And the BFRO noted that the silhouette didn't have clear clothing lines or, a pack that you'd expect to see on someone up there in the deep snow. But what really makes these images impressive is that whatever this figure is, it's big, really big. Check this out. Another thing they did was scale tests. So they tried comparing the figure in the photo to what a normal human would look like in the same spot, taking into account the slope and distance, and look how much larger the figure in the original photos is compared to what an average-sized hiker looks like. Even the folks from the show Finding Bigfoot came back with Chase a few times to the same ridge, checking the angles and taking measurements. It'd be easy to assume a video like this is AI, but this footage was captured in 2009. I couldn't find a whole lot of information on this footage, but apparently it was captured in Smuggler's Notch, a mountain pass in Vermont. It's gotta be one of the strangest looking cryptid videos I've ever seen. It almost looks like it has the hind legs of a horse and like the torso and head of a wolf. Is this some really well done VFX, someone in a very convincing suit, or genuine footage of some unknown creature? Let us know what you think down below. This footage comes from cryptozoologist Paul Freeman, who's still considered one of the most respected names in the Bigfoot community. He shot this video in the Blue Mountains of Northeast Oregon in 1994, and it's often called one of the best Bigfoot videos ever captured. Freeman wasn't just known for video, though. He also made plaster casts of tracks he claimed were from Bigfoot. Those casts got a lot of attention because they showed dermal ridges, which is something you'd see on a real foot. Anthropologist Jeff Meldrum from Idaho State University studied them and considered them some of the most credible evidence out there. As for this video, is it real or a hoax? People still debate it. Could go either way. But unlike so many distant or blurry sightings, we do get a glimpse of a face here. It's not perfect, but you can kind of get a sense of what the creature might look like, which is why it's so frequently cited in discussions about Bigfoot evidence. I'm sure most of you have seen this image before. It's probably the most famous photo of a supposed sea monster aside from Nessie. The picture was taken at Lake Champlain, a freshwater lake between New York and Vermont, known for a legendary creature called Champ, sometimes called Champy. The first recorded sightings go way back. People have been reporting strange things in the water for hundreds and hundreds of years, but the piece of evidence most people talk about is a photograph taken on July 5th, 1977, by a woman named Sandra Mancy. On a summer day, Sandra and her family were near the northern Vermont shore when her kids were wading in the shallow bay. About 150 feet out, she suddenly saw something rise up from the water. It had a long neck, a head, and a hump, all visible for several minutes before disappearing again. Sandra grabbed her Kodak camera and managed to snap a single shot before the thing disappeared back under the water. That image, now one of the most famous lake monster photos ever published, appears to show part of a creature with a dark head, a curved neck, and a back breaking the surface of the lake. Over the years, hundreds of people have claimed to see something unusual in Lake Champlain. Ripples, humps, and shapes moving just under the surface. But this photo is still seen as one of the best pieces of visual evidence that keeps believers coming back to the lake each summer. So this next guy spotted something perched on top of a dead tree in his backyard. He thought it was a cat at first, but when he looked harder at it, he realized it wasn't like any cat he'd ever seen before. So he pulled out his phone to get a closer look, and this is what he captured. Now, he says in the video it's a monkey, which is possible. I mean, I don't know, I'm not a monkey expert. There aren't many monkeys roaming around here in Canada, but this thing doesn't really look like a monkey to me. Looks kind of like a cat-goat hybrid, gargoyle type creature. One person in the comments said, "Bro, it's a cat skull emoji." Apparently, you just can't be Gen Z without peppering in a bro and or skull emoji. Alternatively, you can add a crying laughing emoji as well. In the summer of 2000, Jim Mills, a youth leader with a passion for the great outdoors, organized a trip to Marble Mountain for a group of young campers. But as they hiked deeper into the wilderness, surrounded by the trees and the sounds of nature, none of them could have predicted what they were about to see. During one of their hikes, as the group ascended a ridge, they noticed something in the distance. It was this large, dark figure stood on a ridge in the distance, seemingly watching them. The figure's size and posture immediately caught the attention of Mills, who quickly grabbed his video camera and started to film. The footage shows this tall creature walking upright along the ridge. There was an ease about its strides, as if it were perfectly familiar with the rough terrain, and judging by the footage and how far away the camera was, the creature looks to stand around 7 or 8 feet tall. Throughout the video, you hear Mills remarking on how long the thing's arms are, and whatever it was, it seemed agitated. Can't hear it very well on camera, but the group said it appeared to be yelling at them while aggressively waving its arms at times, as if to scare them away. Now, I want you to imagine, if you will, that you're out in the woods on a hike, alone. You spot what looks like something poking out behind a tree. It's dark, you can't really make it out. Is it part of the tree, you ask yourself? You're afraid to get any closer, unsure if it's a wild animal, but the longer you look, the clearer it becomes. It's not an animal. It's some sort of humanoid shape, but shadowy and perfectly silent, and it's staring at you. No more walks in the forest for me. This next video popped up on Reddit a few years ago. It was filmed in Louisiana. A few guys are recording some deer grazing in a field, but then out of the tree line comes this thing. At first glance, it almost looks like it's galloping, but it's definitely not a horse. Doesn't move like a human either, though. First of all, it's super fast, large, and its front limbs are insanely long. Whether this is something explainable or not, it is definitely a weird clip. This footage comes from Todd Standing, a guy who's pretty well known in the Bigfoot community for some of the more famous alleged sightings out there. According to him, this video shows his first close-up encounter with one of the creatures. After it walked away, Todd and some of his team went up the cliff to check out just how big it might have been, and from what they could tell, it looked like the thing could have been well over 8 feet tall. The footage got enough attention that it even showed up in an episode of Finding Bigfoot. On the show, they tried to recreate the scene by having one of the bigger guys on the team stand on that same ledge to see how he compared. The creature in Todd's video was noticeably taller and bulkier than the guy they used for comparison. And most of us have seen this footage, and for good reason. Unlike so many supposed Bigfoot videos, we get a good long look at this creature, much like the Patterson-Gimlin footage. And on top of that, this version of the creature looks a lot like the one in that infamous film from 1967. The footage was captured on Independence Day in 2013. What also stood out to people about this video is that the creature appears to be carrying an infant. Can't say I've ever seen that before. Doesn't mean it's not a hoax, but it does mean they put in some extra effort if it is. Some people think it's just a good quality suit, some think it looks super legit, commenting on the creature's gait and how convincing the fur is, but what do you all think of this one, as well as the rest of the entries on this list? Share your thoughts down in the comments below. What you're looking at here are pretty infamous photos encrypted cryptid/alien sighting circles. And yeah, they kind of look like a dude wrapped in tinfoil, but it's the story attached to the images that makes them more interesting. So on October 17th, 1973, in Falkville, Alabama, a report came in about a possible spaceship landing in a field. Police Chief Jeff Greenaw went out to check things out. He wasn't really one for UFOs, didn't expect to find much. At most, he was gonna find a prankster, but things didn't go the way he thought they would. He insisted, and he ran into something way stranger. What he described wasn't a craft, it was a humanoid figure covered in something that looked like thick aluminum foil, smooth and reflective, almost glowing under the light. The body looked wrong too. There was no clear neck. The head seemed fused to the torso, and there was even what looked like an antenna sticking out. And the way it moved made it even worse. Greenaw said it didn't walk normally. It had these jerky, almost mechanical movements, like something trying to imitate a human but not quite getting it right. And then it suddenly took off, and this was the strangest part. It moved faster than anything he'd ever seen, covering huge distances in seconds. He tried to follow it in his truck, but even at 35 miles per hour, he couldn't keep up. Before it disappeared, he managed to snap the now infamous Polaroid photos. Now, the photos didn't do a lot to convince the skeptics. In fact, they probably made things even worse. Greenaw was laughed off, and within months, he lost his job, his marriage fell apart, and his house burned down. So if he hoaxed this whole thing, it was a bad idea. He did not come out of it any better than he was before. Apparently this footage comes from 2009. It's pretty compelling stuff. It looks like a large wolf walking on its hind legs, and the hind legs look like they belong to a horse. I mean, what the hell? The creature is being referred to as the Black Walker of Smuggler's Notch. Smuggler's Notch being a narrow mountain pass in Vermont, squeezed between Mount Mansfield and Spruce Park. It has an interesting history. It got its name back in the 1800s when smugglers used it to sneak goods between Canada and the US. Nowadays, it's mostly known for hiking and skiing, but there have been stories online about this dogman type creature lurking in the area. Next up is this video captured in Buenos Aires last year. The clip is short and blurry, showing what looks like a street or a garden. You see this weird dark figure crawling on all fours toward the camera, while a few dogs wander around in the background. Its limbs look unusually long, but it's tough to make out because it's dark and the video quality is admittedly not great. Local news says this happened in the town of Saladillo. Residents are reportedly freaked out by whatever it was. Some witnesses have described it as demonic, claiming it moves with inhuman agility, climbing walls and leaping between trees. And a local firefighter who didn't want to be named said, quote, "Something was going on." Another witness added, "It's something big. He doesn't walk on all fours, he walks backwards. He's disjointed, he comes apart, his head is upside down while his body moves in an impossible way." And say what you want about this last video, but we get more than a vague blur in the distance. What do you think, genuine Bigfoot or a costume? I mean, we almost never get Bigfoot footage this clear and close. Most of the time, these clips are shot from way too far away, and the creature is barely recognizable. I know I say that a lot whenever I show a Bigfoot video. I mean, this is part 4. I've already covered Bigfoot in 3, 2, and 1. I think I've done a good job of finding ones that, are better than just some blurry shape obscured by some trees. But as for this one, is it real? It's hard to say for sure, but I don't know. I like it. There's more going on here than a Party City monkey suit, I'll say that. The figure looks solid, it's got some bulk, and the fur isn't just one flat color. That has to be the clearest piece of Bigfoot footage that I have ever seen. In May of 2025, a trail camera in Michigan caught something that's becoming one of the most talked about Bigfoot videos in years. The clip lasts just 10 seconds, but what it shows is unmistakable. This massive hairy creature standing in the middle of a dense forest staring almost directly at the lens. And then without any panic or sudden movement, it just slowly steps away. The camera belonged to someone who owned a remote property in rural Michigan. They'd been checking the cameras regularly, expecting deer, bears, the occasional coyote. Instead, they found this. The creature was enormous, covered in dark, shaggy fur with a muscular build. Its face is almost human-like, kind of looks like a creepier version of the Sasquatch from Harry and the Hendersons, which I believe is named Harry in that movie. Anyway, the property owner posted the video to Reddit, and the post went viral almost immediately. Thousands of people watched, commented, and debated. Was it a really convincing costume, a genuine Sasquatch? The story got stranger when the post disappeared. The Reddit account was deleted, along with all the comments and discussions. I mean, say what you want about the video, but the footage is stunningly clear. It's not like any Sasquatch footage that I've ever seen before. This short video and some images comes from a ski resort in northeast Spain, where a group of skiers saw something strange near the tree line. They got it on video. A tall, white-furred figure walking upright through the snow. One of the skiers posted it online, asking what the hell it could be. The clip spread fast on social media and cryptid forums, and people started talking about it immediately. Some said it looks like genuine footage of a Yeti-type creature. Others say it's just a costume. If that's the case, though, it's a pretty good one. The figure has some serious bulk to it. The resort staff said they checked the area after the footage came out. It didn't find anything unusual. No animals or wildlife that fit the description, but one of the skiers insisted he had no idea what the thing was. It wasn't a hoax. What do you all think? Is this one a total fake, or was an unknown ape-like creature actually captured on camera that day? What in the name of all that is holy is this thing? This video was recorded in Vermont, just north of Green Mountain National Forest. Supposedly in the days before the footage was captured, farmers were reporting dead livestock, and several people had reported their pets missing. Coincidence? Maybe, but this also does look like the type of monstrosity that'd snatch up a puppy and eat it. I'm sorry for conjuring that image in your head. The video was shot by two teenagers heading home from a party one night. When they started hearing strange noises from the trees, they decided to start filming, and creeping out of the shadows was this gangly, long-limbed, bulbous-headed freak show. Some say it reminds them of a rake-like creature or skinwalker. Others say it looks more like an alien. It looks to me like it needs to be doused in gasoline and set on fire. What exactly is this fish species? A guy named Rain McKinney was walking across the Pawleys Island Bridge in South Carolina when he noticed something strange in the water. So he grabbed his phone and started recording. A creature that was swimming in a way that didn't look like any normal fish. It had a weird shape, almost like fins or wings, maybe even something resembling a beak on it. He sent the clip to the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, but even they didn't have a clear answer. One spokesperson admitted, "The people in my office are mostly stumped." The video eventually made its way to marine researchers in Charleston, and even then, nobody could identify it for sure. Some guesses were squid, others guessed maybe a sea slug or sea hare. The problem is those species don't usually show up that far north. They're typically found further south in warmer waters, so for now, this one remains a mystery. So this guy caught something really spooky on camera while motorbiking. TikToker Moat Owens was riding through a forest trail as the sun was setting. He was pretty deep into the trail, which he said seemed to go on forever. And he comes to a fork in the path. Then he notices something strange. It's eerily quiet.
Holy crap, dude, this trail going on forever.
He sits there for a few moments, trying to decide which path to take, before he spots something poking out of the brush. Take a look at this. As soon as he sees the thing, he rightly zips back in the direction he came from, but not before struggling to get his bike started like he's stuck in a monster movie or one of those awful nightmares where you're being chased only to find that you've lost the ability to run. Pretty awful. A man named Jose in Fresno, California had a security camera outside his home, mainly to keep an eye on people messing with his front lawn. Well, one night his dog started barking like crazy, so he went to check the camera footage, and what he saw completely threw him. It was a thin, pale white figure with long legs gliding across the lawn. It had no arms, no real body, it was just the two long, tube-like legs and something small connecting them at the top. It didn't move like a person or an animal, mainly because it didn't look like a person or an animal. Jose was freaked out and immediately woke up his brother. According to Jose, his brother went outside and found weird little footprints in the dirt. But when investigators finally got there, it had rained and whatever physical evidence was there was now gone. This was the first ever footage of what's been referred to as the Fresno Nightcrawler, or crawlers, because some folks have seen multiple of them at once. In July of 2022, a home security camera in Moorhead, Kentucky picked up something really weird. Something that looked like a pale, almost human-shaped figure moving through someone's backyard late at night. The creature was thin, with long arms and legs, and no visible clothes or fur. It didn't run or walk like a person, it just kind of crept through the yard in this slow, eerie motion. The homeowner released the clip online, and it was shared around everywhere, even news sites. A lot of people said it looked like some kind of rake. Others say this one has a bit of an alien vibe to it. The video was picked up by local news, including the Tribune, which simply labeled it as a bizarre backyard sighting. Nobody came forward with any clear explanation, and wildlife officials didn't release any statements about what it could have been. Internet theories went all over the place with this one, from a deformed deer walking upright, which is a bit of a stretch, to a sick person wandering around naked. That's much more plausible. Or maybe something straight out of The Descent. In October of 2023, two passengers were riding the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad, a scenic train that runs through the Colorado wilderness, when one of them spotted something strange walking along a hillside. They pulled out their phone and started recording. What they caught was this figure walking upright across the slope. It wasn't a person in hiking gear. It was tall, bulky, covered in what looked like brown fur, turning at one point to look back toward the train. Some commenters pointed out that the remote location made this very unlikely that anyone would be out there pulling a prank. Others just said, well, it kind of just does look like a costume. But the video made national news and reopened the Bigfoot debate once again. A lot of folks also pointed out how well this thing moved on such steep terrain. For believers, this is one of the better modern Bigfoot sightings. Clear daylight, open view, but like always, what do you all think? In 2019, near Sioux Lookout in Ontario, Canada, Gino Mikas, an experienced hunter, was with his wife and grandson grouse hunting when they heard this eerie howl coming from deep in the trees. Take a listen to this. Now, thinking it might be a moose, Mikas started recording with his phone, but as the howls continued, and they do go on throughout the entire clip, it growing louder and more aggressive, it was very clear that this wasn't anything he'd heard before. Now, keep this in mind, guys. He's been hunting all his life, and he said the sound didn't match anything native to the area. Could this be a legit recording of Bigfoot? Two friends were hiking in British Columbia when they captured something they couldn't quite explain. They spotted this figure walking upright across a snowy ridge. It's distant, but the people behind the camera say they had a much clearer view in person, and what they saw didn't make any sense. See, the terrain was tough. Deep snow, steep drop-offs, no obvious trail, but the figure was moving so smoothly and quickly, without snowshoes, without a backpack, and seemingly wearing all one color. Now, anyone who has ever tried to walk through that kind of snow knows that it's nearly impossible without gear. They said the thing was bipedal, fast, and didn't look like a bear. They admitted the most logical explanation might be it was just some lone, seriously hardcore hiker, but what if that wasn't the case? The closest route down the mountain was a 300-meter sheer drop, and they didn't have climbing gear to follow it. So whether it was a Sasquatch, a fearless snow hiker, or something else, it left them unsettled enough to post online, and a number of people have commented about how much distance this thing manages to cover on such harsh terrain in such a short span of time. Well, I don't like this image. It'd be creepy enough on its own, but what makes it even eerier is that it comes from the abandoned amusement park in Pripyat. TikTok user Arian Leonol was scrolling through Google Maps images of Pripyat's abandoned fairground when he noticed this figure in one of the images. and man, is it creepy as hell. Something just looks wrong about this person. The black eyes, the paleness, I want to say ghostly. Of course, it could just be the camera snapping images from far away, low quality, etc., but still makes you wonder who this person is. The exclusion zone is, as the name suggests, officially off limits. People still sneak in on occasion, but not often, and it's just a risk I'd never want to take. The images you're looking at here have not been doctored. For some reason, these dogs have blue fur. In October 2023, volunteers working inside the Chernobyl exclusion zone started sharing something they couldn't explain. Stray dogs living near the ruins were being spotted with bright blue fur. Not patches, not stains on their paws, entire coats tinted this unnatural, almost electric blue. Photos and video quickly spread online, and people immediately started asking the obvious question, why? Well, the dogs were seen near the industrial areas of the zone, places filled with abandoned buildings and decaying equipment and substances that haven't been touched in decades. No one could say for certain where the color came from. Some said they may have rolled around in some sort of chemical. Others pointed toward old materials left behind after cleanup. And of course, many people wondered whether living in the most irradiated place on Earth may have had something to do with it. It's hard to say. Radiation isn't really known to turn fur blue, but how often are we really testing long-term exposure to radiation like this? I don't know, I feel like weird stuff can happen over time. The darker frog in this picture has been affected by radiation. In 2016, Spanish researchers Pablo Barrico and German Arizola were surveying wildlife in Pripyat, trying to understand how animals were surviving in an environment still affected by radiation. And that's when they noticed something that didn't make sense at first. The frogs were black, and not just dark green, almost charcoal black. That was strange because the species they were studying, Hyla orientalis, is normally a bright, almost neon green tree frog. That bright color is one of its defining traits. Seeing entire populations with much darker skin raised some questions. It's pretty obvious that this has something to do with nuclear fallout. These frogs now produce higher levels of melanin, the same pigment that helps protect human skin from radiation and UV exposure. So in the Chernobyl zone, it seems like these frogs have developed a kind of biological armor, helping shield their cells from damage. It's really amazing how quickly this happened. In just a few decades, a species known for being bright green has adapted to being much darker to survive inside of one of the most hostile environments humans have ever created. Footage from inside the Chernobyl exclusion zone shows a catfish so large it barely looks real. Hauled up from one of the abandoned cooling pods by angler and TV host Jeremy Wade, these pods sit just outside the ruined reactor complex, and they're still contaminated decades later. When Wade tested the fish, the radiation readings came back super elevated, around 16 times above normal background levels, and stuff seems to be happening to these fish that fits into that classic comic book idea that we have of, what happens when radiation affects animals. They're extra big. Is it just the radiation though? Well, I gotta imagine partly, but there's also something else going on here. The ponds are warm and they're packed with food. There are no natural predators left. So it's turned the area into quite the feeding ground for these catfish. They're at the top of the food chain now, with nothing to hunt them and no reason to compete. They survive longer, they eat more, and they just keep growing. Still, radiation is partly to blame. They're absorbing it daily, and scientists aren't sure what long-term effects that exposure may cause down the line. This image is believed to be the only photographic evidence of a creature people later named the Blackbird of Chernobyl. In the weeks leading up to April 1986, people living near the Chernobyl nuclear power plant began telling each other some unsettling stories. They described this huge shadowy figure gliding through the sky. Had wings, but was almost human-shaped too, and its eyes glowed red in the dark. As the reports spread, the sightings became more frequent. People claimed to see the creature circling overhead and hovering near the plant. People started waking up from terrible nightmares and were overcome with this deep sense of impending doom. And then, on April 26th, Reactor 4 exploded, and what followed was catastrophic. A radioactive cloud swept across large parts of the Soviet Union and into Europe and North America. Entire towns were emptied. More than 300,000 people were forced to leave their homes. many never returning. It became the worst nuclear disaster in human history. In the days after the explosion, Soviet helicopters flew non-stop, dumping sand and debris onto the burning reactor. Firefighters rushed in without knowing what they were truly facing. Many would die shortly after from radiation exposure. We all know the story, but what gets talked about a lot less often is the Blackbird, which lingered the entire time. Some of the responders who survived long enough to speak later claim they saw that same massive winged figure flying through the radioactive smoke above Reactor 4. And then, just like that, the sighting stopped. Some believe the Blackbird of Chernobyl is similar or possibly even the same creature as Mothman, reported in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, shortly before the Silver Bridge collapse in 1967. Both were described with huge wings, glowing eyes, and showed up just before disaster. Skeptics have said people may have been seeing a black stork. Big birds, for sure, but its wingspan doesn't come close to what witnesses described here. Whatever people saw around Chernobyl in 1986 was never reported again. Whether it was a misidentified bird or something far stranger, it's impossible to say. But if stories like these are to be believed, when it appears, catastrophe is not far behind. This image was taken in 1989, 3 years after the Chernobyl reactor exploded. It's pretty shocking. A woman holding up an interesting looking piglet. There's no fur, misshapen head. The image was captured in the radioactive fallout zone at a time when the ground, water, and feed were still soaked in contamination. Farmers living near the exclusion zone reported animals being born dead, deformed, or dying within hours. Some stopped reporting it altogether because no one wanted to come investigate anymore. You'd think there would be more images like this from Chernobyl, but there actually aren't many. If the disaster happened nowadays, there'd be video documentation out the wazoo, but unless you were a journalist, you probably weren't going around taking pictures, especially because the government was trying to downplay how bad things really were. This is honestly some pretty harrowing footage. This was taken right inside Reactor 4, or what's left of it. And that awful mass of goo is what's known as the elephant's foot. The elephant's foot is one of the most famous things left over from the Chernobyl disaster in 1986. It's this huge melted lump made from the reactor's fuel, concrete, steel, and other material that got so hot it all just fused together. It's called the elephant's foot because it's wrinkled and looks kind of like a giant elephant's toe. It formed in a corridor under the reactor. When people first saw it a few months after the accident, it was extremely dangerous. The radiation was so strong that standing near it for just a few minutes could have killed someone. Workers had to use remote tools and special gear just to measure it safely. At the time, it was so hot and radioactive it almost seemed alive. Over the years, the radioactivity has gone down as some of the unstable materials broke down, but it's still deadly and now sits under tons of rubble inside the huge containment structure built over Reactor 4. Finally, we have another Google Maps TikTok video for you. TikTok user hidden on Google Earth was scrolling through Google Maps when he spotted something weird inside one of the abandoned buildings in Pripyat. Zooming in, he noticed what looked like a person sitting or standing in the window, pale and cloaked. Obviously, no one's supposed to be in that building. People online kind of freaked out, calling it a ghost, while others said it was probably just a statue. But it's pretty creepy, the way it's reaching out like that, and it does kind of look like a statue, but maybe it isn't. What if this was some lone person in a cloak roaming around? Who are they? Why were they there? On October 15th, 2022, Dale Hancher, his wife Colleen, and their friend Myrna Germaine Brown went sailing on Okanagan Lake in British Columbia, Canada. Colleen's mother had passed away the day before, so the three went out in the water to take their minds off things. According to the couple, they may have been the only boat on the lake that day. And the lake is massive. Its deepest point is 761 feet. In some areas, it drops hundreds of feet, just a few feet from shore. While in the middle of the lake, they noticed two horns emerging from the water. First, they assumed it was a log, maybe some seaweed, but as they got closer, it didn't really move much with the waves. It stayed perfectly still. Colleen leaned over the bow to take a photo from about 12 feet away and said she could see what looked like a body or neck beneath the dark water. The horns were several feet apart and stuck out 3 or 4 inches. Colleen believes they were actual horns or ears, and she noted they looked more like skin than wood. It looked like some sort of creature. Some skeptics claimed it was an upside-down duck, which I think is a bit of a stretch. Others said it could have been a dragon sculpture from a boat club nearby, but that club's boats don't have dragon heads like that. Some suggested a hoax, but given the timing, with one of the witnesses having just lost her mother, that seems like an odd activity to get up to during the grieving process, but who can say for sure? But then there are those who aren't so skeptical, who believe this could be a genuine photo of Ogopogo, the legendary lake monster people have claimed to see for centuries, with stories going all the way back to First Nations folklore. This is some of the most infamous cryptid footage ever released. First appeared on an episode of Paranormal Borderland hosted by the one and only Jonathan Frakes. The story goes that in 1996, a young couple were hiking in the mountains of Nepal and they spotted a figure on a slope in the distance. The first thing they noticed was how large it was. They'd already been documenting their trek, so they pointed their camera at the person to get some footage. It was then that they noticed there's something strange about the mystery hiker, aside from how large they were. The figure didn't look human. It looked like some sort of massive, hairy creature making its way up the slope. And note the length of the arms, especially in this section of the footage. The footage was shown to a team of experts on the show, including a man named Jeff Meldrum, a primate anatomy expert from the University of Idaho, and he was genuinely stumped by the video at the time. This insane clip was posted to the TikTok Scary Videos 786, but it's actually a repost and no one really knows where the original came from. Whatever the case, it's a weird one. So the video starts with two guys holding up this big net. At first you're thinking, all right, what are they even trying to catch? And then out of nowhere, something comes up the stairs straight toward them. This hairy werewolf-looking thing that's kind of half man, half animal. Honestly, it's probably not real, but at the same time, you never really know. Strange stuff pops up all the time. If it was real though, I genuinely want to know what their next move was, because it's like, all right, you just caught the thing in a rather flimsy looking net. What's the next step? Well, nothing reigns in the Christmas season like a visit from Sasquatch. Anyway, this video posted to the YouTube channel North by Wild West has racked up over 3 million views. His family in northern Minnesota were celebrating Christmas in 2014. As the uploader was panning across the room, getting footage of the lovely tree and the lights, she suddenly noticed something outside. Something big.
What was that?
Oh my god. Did you see that?
Something's behind the garage.
So she made her way outside to investigate. After scanning around the yard for a few moments, they noticed it again, off in the distance, just beyond the trees. A large, dark figure. They're not too sure what they spotted at this point. It could have just been a big person. When one of the dogs runs out, clearly having spotted the thing too, things get stranger.
Oh, there goes
Oh, no.
We're real scared of them.
It immediately runs back closer to the house before continuing to bark at whatever is skulking through the trees. Super curious, the camera woman decides to get closer to see if she can spot the thing again as the dog Riff continues yapping at the trees. Eventually, she does spot it again. After that, everyone decided to make their way back inside.
Imagine a remote valley in central Norway where for decades residents and scientists alike have witnessed baffling luminous phenomena. These aren't just distant specks, they're bright, often spherical lights, sometimes red, white, or yellow, dancing and moving with impossible precision, sometimes hovering for hours. This isn't just one or two sightings, it's an ongoing spectacle, meticulously documented in photographs since the 1980s. Scientists have even established field stations in the Hessdalen Valley, attempting to unravel their origin. Theories range from an unknown combustion process in the valley's iron-rich hills to plasma formations and even something far more out of this world. But despite the extensive research and countless hours of footage, no definitive explanation has ever been found for the Hessdalen lights, leaving them a dazzling, enduring enigma. On the night of March 13, 1997, thousands of people across Arizona, including the governor at the time, witnessed a massive, silent, V-shaped craft with 5 spherical lights slowly gliding across the sky. This wasn't a quick glimpse. These lights were observed for hours, from roughly 7:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. by an estimated 10,000 to 20,000 people. Pilot Frederick Foreman captured incredible 35mm film of the event. While the US Air Force initially attributed some of the later sightings to flares dropping during a training exercise, that explanation failed to account for the earlier silent V-shaped formation seen by so many. The sheer scale of the event, the consistency of the witness testimonies, and the clear photographic evidence make the Phoenix Lights one of the most compelling mass UFO sightings in history, leaving us to wonder what truly traversed the Arizona night sky. Can the deceased really linger? In 1924, off the coast of the Atlantic, 2 crewmen aboard the SS Watertown tragically died and were buried at sea. Shortly after, fellow crew members began reporting seeing their faces in the water following the ship. Captain Keith Tracy, after hearing these accounts, decided to investigate. He used a camera to snap 6 photos of the unsettling phenomenon. 5 of the photos showed nothing unusual, but one clearly depicted the ghostly face of the 2 dead sailors staring up from the waves. The camera and negatives were even locked in a vault to prevent tampering. To this day, the SS Watertown ghost photos remain a chilling piece of evidence, raising questions about life, death, and what truly happens when we cross that final threshold. What if a family outing in the picturesque Solway Firth in England turned into an encounter with the truly bizarre? In 1964, Jim Templeton was taking photos of his daughter during a day trip. He didn't notice anything out of the ordinary until the film was developed. In one particular photo, standing directly behind his daughter was a tall, white-suited figure that looked eerily like an astronaut. Templeton swore that no one else was present. Kodak even examined the negative and confirmed that it hadn't been tampered with. The image sparked national and international interest, even attracting the attention of the Australian Air Force, who were investigating a missing pilot report. To this day, the Solway Firth spaceman remains an iconic and utterly unexplained photographic mystery, challenging our perception of who or what might be sharing our world. Deep in the Australian outback near Alice Springs lies Corroboree Rock, a sacred site for the local indigenous people. In 1959, a local pastor named R.S. Miller captured a striking photograph of the rock, but upon development, something else emerged from the shadows. Perched atop the rock formation, a translucent, ghostly figure resembling a woman with long hair and what appeared to be a white gown was clearly visible. The figure has been dubbed the Lady of the Couch of Corroboree Rock Ghost. No one saw the figure during the actual photograph, and there's no logical explanation for its appearance in the image. Was it a trick of light and shadow, a double exposure, or something far more ethereal haunting this ancient land? The deep oceans hold secrets that we can barely comprehend, and in 1964, French photographer Robert Lisarec and his family were vacationing off Hook Island in Queensland, Australia, when they spotted a colossal tadpole-shaped creature lurking in the shadows. Lisarec, a seasoned diver, estimated the creature to be over 70 feet long, with smooth dark skin and a snake-like head. He managed to capture several clear photographs of the immense beast before it slowly swam away. The images are genuinely astonishing, depicting a creature unlike any known marine life. While some skeptics have suggested it was cleverly arranged tarp or even a giant whale shark at an unusual angle, the sheer size and distinct features in the photograph defy easy explanation, leaving the Hook Island sea monster a tantalizing glimpse into the unknown depths. Moving into a new home is usually a joyous occasion, a fresh start, but for the Cooper family in Texas, their new beginning was marred by a chilling photograph anomaly. After moving into their new house, they decided to take a family portrait. What they developed was a nightmarish image, an upside down figure seemingly falling from the ceiling, its head out of frame, arms outstretched, and the figure is translucent, almost ethereal, yet undeniably present in the photograph. No one in the family recalled seeing anything like it when the photo was taken. Was it a prank, a double exposure, or did the Cooper family inadvertently capture evidence of a tragic unseen presence that haunted their new home? During the tumultuous days of World War II, fear of an attack on American soil was very real, but what truly transpired on the night of February 25th, 1942 over Los Angeles remains a profound mystery. Following an alert of an incoming enemy aircraft, anti-aircraft guns blazed across the sky for hours. Yet despite expending over 1,400 rounds, no enemy planes were shot down and no wreckage was ever found. What was captured, however, was an astonishing photograph published in the Los Angeles Times. A massive round object seemingly illuminated by searchlights hovering unmistakably in the night sky. While authorities later dismissed it as war nerves and balloons, the photo, along with numerous eyewitness accounts, painted a very different picture. Was it an unknown enemy aircraft, a genuine UFO, or simply mass hysteria caught on film? The Battle of Los Angeles continues to spark debate to this day. Even in the grim realities of war, the veil between worlds can seemingly be thin. In 1919, a squadron of Royal Air Force personnel paused for a group portrait at HMS de Dallas. When the photograph was developed, a chilling and undeniable face appeared in the background directly behind one of the airmen. It was the face of Freddie Jackson, an air mechanic who had just died 2 days prior in an aircraft propeller incident. His funeral had taken place on the very day that the photo was taken. The squadron members recognized him immediately, believing that he had returned to join his comrades one last time. This photograph serves as a powerful and widely cited piece of evidence for the existence of ghosts, caught with such clarity that it's difficult to dismiss as mere coincidence or trickery. The assassination of President John F. Kennedy on November 22, 1963 is one of the most scrutinized events in modern history. Yet, amidst the chaos and tragedy, an enduring enigma was captured on multiple films and photographs. The Babushka Lady, the mysterious woman wearing a brown coat and a headscarf like a Russian babushka, was seen holding a camera and filming the from extremely close range, even after others had taken cover. Despite appeals from the FBI, she never came forward, and her identity in the footage she allegedly captured has never been found. Who was she? What did her camera record? Was she simply an innocent bystander, or did she hold crucial evidence that could shed new light on that fateful day? The Babushka Lady remains an enduring, tantalizing mystery, forever frozen in the frames of history, a silent witness to one of America's greatest tragedies.
Known locally as the Lagerflot worm, this creature is Iceland's answer to the Loch Ness Monster. Said to live in the icy depths of Lake Lagerflot, the beast is described as massive, up to 40 feet long, and not sleek like your typical idea of a sea serpent. Instead, it's said to have a series of large, visible humps. Reports of the creature go all the way back to 1345, and sightings have trickled in over the centuries. In 1963, the head of Iceland's National Forest Service claimed that he saw it with his own eyes. In 1998, a teacher and a group of students said they saw it as well. The most interesting incident might have happened in 1983 when a group of workers were laying a telephone cable near the eastern shore of the lake, and during their depth measurements, they detected this massive moving object deep beneath the surface. When they later retrieved the cable, it was snapped, and right at the spot where it had rested on whatever that thing was. Then in 2012, the story blew up again when a 67-year-old farmer recorded this video of something snake-like twisting and swimming in a river which flows directly into the lake. Next up is this clip here, the Harley Hoffman Bigfoot footage. I remember seeing this clip years ago. It was edited into an interview with Hoffman himself, who's a well-known Bigfoot enthusiast. Now, for a while I couldn't find the footage again, but recently it did pop back up. This is actual footage he claims to have shot, and honestly, it is pretty solid. You get a decent look at the creature. It doesn't come across like some dude stumbling around in a Party City gorilla suit. There's what looks like actual muscle definition under the fur, kind of like what you see in the famous Patterson-Gimlin footage. Now, yeah, the camera is a little shaky, but I mean, come on, if you suddenly ran into this thing in the woods, are you really gonna whip out this perfect, smooth, Kubrick-style tracking shot? I doubt it. The shakiness actually makes it feel more real, like something someone would capture in the middle of a, legit what the hell am I looking at moment. Now let's talk about the 1992 Grassman sighting. Grassman is the name Ohio locals have given to this big, ape-like creature that's supposedly been spotted all over the state. This particular video was taken in eastern Ohio by a guy named Don Keating, who managed to capture what looked like a large hairy figure walking into the forest. The footage is, of course, super grainy, and he's pretty far away, so no, it's not crystal clear or anything, but there's definitely something moving through the trees. It's not the strongest video evidence out there. It's hard to tell exactly what you're looking at, but this video was passed around a lot back then, and there was a ton of debate surrounding it. That always makes things interesting. Plus, I just have a fondness for old VHS footage like this. It's just got this creepy, it adds something to it, I don't know. Now, what's interesting is that Keating said he was a skeptic before shooting this, but after the encounter, he changed his tune. And finally, we've got the Salt Fork Creature, another supposed clip of the Ohio grassman. This video was uploaded to the YouTube channel We Do It Outdoors, and even though it's only about 10 minutes long, it is packed with material. So two guys were exploring Salt Fork State Park, also in eastern Ohio, when they started hearing weird noises, and that's when they caught footage of something big and hairy moving around in the trees. They follow this thing for a while and get some pretty cool footage, more than you usually get with videos like this. Now, if this is a costume, it's a pretty good one. The creature looks bulky. It's not like one of those flimsy, off-the-shelf gorilla suits, and what really makes this one stand out is that the footage is clear. There's no camera shaking, or very little. There's no ridiculous filter to make it harder to see what's going on. You even hear some strange vocalizations in the background, which just adds to the whole thing. Whether it's real or not, this one is definitely worth a watch. What you're looking at here is well, I don't really know what the hell this thing is, and neither does the uploader. Redditor J Turley 85 uploaded the footage, writing, "My wife's coworker went out hunting this past weekend. They apparently took a pack of dogs out with them. While in the mountains, two of the dogs ran off. They chased them and found them both ripped apart after some searching. While trying to look for whatever caused it, they found this and recorded it through their scope. I tried to upscale the video for clarity, but this was the best I could get. Anyone know what this could be? The arms look like they have hair coming off it, and they look extremely long and skinny. At first I thought it could be another hunter, but I can't be sure. And yeah, I don't know, it could maybe be a hunter with a sheet over their head for like camouflage or something, but along with the story about all the dogs having been ripped apart, definitely makes whatever this thing is a lot stranger, and I don't like how it moves. What you're looking at here is said to be footage of a creature known as the Lake Van monster, something that's been spotted in this lake in eastern Turkey. The first sighting goes way back to 1889, but it really grabbed headlines between 1995 and 1997 when more and more people started reporting on it. Over 1,000 people claim they've seen it. In 1997, a university assistant named Unal Kozak even filmed what he claimed was the creature, and the footage still stirs up arguments to this day. Some folks swear they see a beak in the footage, others think he just grabbed a clip of a swimming elephant. So if anyone can find a longer clip of a swimming elephant that matches up with this video, something that would have been available in 1997, please share in the comments. Maybe we can solve this together. Until then though, this one is gonna remain a mystery. Alright, this next video is really interesting because people can't really seem to decide if they think it's a creature or some type of unidentified flying object. The clip was posted to YouTube by Montana Mullet Militia, who wrote in the description, "Was out coyote hunting last night and caught this on film. It was super bizarre, 37 degrees outside, white hot mode." So this was captured on a thermal camera. Those little white specks are believed to be coyotes, with their bright colors showing that they're warm compared to their environment. The darker figure or object, first appearing to kind of run, then later seeing to fly, shows up colder than everything else around it, which is why it looks dark in the footage. As for what the hell this thing is, well, your guess is as good as mine. This photo was taken back in 1934 by a Swiss photographer named Balkan. He claimed he saw something strange near a log, some kind of creature that didn't look like anything he'd seen before, so he took a photo of it, and the picture kicked up quite a bit of interest. It even inspired a German magazine to sponsor a full-blown expedition to track down the creature. But like a lot of cryptid hunts, the trip was a bust, and people kinda moved on. But there have still been some strange sightings since. What exactly is this thing? Well, it's known as the Tatzelworm, a legendary beast from alpine folklore. It's said to have been haunting the mountains of Europe for centuries. Descriptions vary, but most say it looks like a chunky, cat-faced reptile, but with no back legs. Sometimes doesn't even have any at all, a bit more snake-like. Sightings have been reported all over the Alps, from Switzerland and Austria to parts of Germany and northern Italy. And it goes by a bunch of different names depending on where you are. Names which I'm gonna pronounce perfectly: Stollenworm, Springworm, and Pratzelworm, just to name a few. Even in modern times, people still claim to see it. So was the Tatzelworm just a tall tale, or did this photographer really capture something strange slithering through the Alps? Alright, this next one, nope, absolutely not. Someone's home security camera picked up what can only be described as pure nightmare fuel. There's this pale, creepy looking creature crouched in the bushes outside their house, just staring off into the distance, looking around. Glowing eyes, long limbs, totally bald. And when it stands up, it's tall, uncomfortably tall. People in the comments have been saying it looks like a Slender Man or a rake. There's also something else going on here. Some viewers pointed out it almost looks like it's wearing a black cloak or something. A cloaked, glowing-eyed rake demon thing. Again, that's a yikes for me. The face is the worst part. It's just blank. There's no mouth, no nose, nothing but those eerie, glowing eyes. If I saw this outside my house, I would be gone. Keep the house. Take the furniture. I don't care. What do you think this thing was, though? An alien, a demon, a hoax? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. This first clip is from way back, around 2006 or 7. We see what looks like birds at first, but zooming in and slowing things down a bit, those don't look like birds at all. The footage was reportedly shot somewhere in the Scottish Highlands, where a hiker was filming the sky while trekking through the mountains. According to the story that came with the clip, he paused on a ridge to capture the clouds rolling over the valleys below, when he noticed these small, fast-moving shapes weaving through the mist. At first, he thought it was birds too, but the way they shimmered and zipped around made him kind of question that. And when he was able to zoom in on the footage later, he noticed they looked kind of fairy-like, zipping around in this almost playful kind of way, dancing in the air. And you notice they're not shaped like birds or bugs either. So what are they? Is this video a hoax? Or did this guy capture something genuinely strange on camera? This next clip comes from Cheetah Jumper on Reddit, who said, "Hello there, I captured this video on my driveway security camera. It's 30 degrees outside, so this is not a bug. Am I seeing what I think I am seeing?" Well, what we see is something floating around this car. Mostly hovers around the driver's seat window, but it zips up and out of frame and back again. It looks like a bug to me. As the uploader said, it was 30 degrees, though that's -1 Celsius for the fellow Canadians in the audience. Most commenters agreed that you just don't see bugs like this in that weather. Some thought it could be a hummingbird, but others said the movement of this thing doesn't seem to fit that theory. When one commenter insisted it was a spider, the uploader responded, "It's not a spider. There are spiders on this camera often, and it's not one. This thing is not on the camera, it's flying around the car." In the footage you could see it fly in, fly out of the video. I enhanced the video, it has wings and is flying. So, as always, what do you all think of this one? Share your thoughts in the comments. Did this next person capture a fairy flying through their room? Keep your eyes on the purple house looking drawing on the wall. There's a necklace hanging from it. Something flies into it and knocks it over. It's hard to make out what the thing is because it's semi-transparent and it's super fast, but it definitely has wings, and that's not the only time we see it. A little while later, it comes back. The blinds move as there's this light gust of wind. Doesn't affect the stuffed animal at all though. But then, the small winged creature zips in again and seems to knock the thing over before flying away. It moves so fast you barely have time to make sense of it. Was this just a bug, or was it something else? Something less explainable. I'm gonna call this next video Fairy to the Face. It was uploaded to TikTok by Lisa Nathan, who had a run-in with a pesky critter while out on her back porch. Take a look at this. At first you think it's an insect getting up in her face, maybe a dragonfly, but when it flies up closer to the camera you notice it has something hanging below it. Some would say a kind of fairy-looking body. In fact, a lot of people said that in the comments. I mean, it could totally be an insect carrying something. Dragonfly is what I thought, and a few people in the comments agreed, but then other people were like, no, dragonflies just don't move like that. So the internet's divided. What do you think? This next clip was posted to YouTube way back in 2017 by Wessel Reed, who wrote, "Caught this on my front porch in Fresno, California." Now, whatever this thing is, it's only on screen briefly, but we get a pretty good look at it. Could be a butterfly, but it looks to have a bit more shape to it. If we freeze it frame by frame, we can almost make out what looks like a small body along with the wings, but I don't know, is that just wishful thinking on my part? Maybe. This next clip was shared to TikTok by Desmadrosa Drea, who, as the text reads, was sent the footage by her mother. She was filming their family home in Mexico. As the camera pans from left to right, something flies through the frame. And I know a lot of these types of videos are hard to make out. They can easily be bugs and insects mistaken for other things, but I don't know. This doesn't really look like anything normal to me. Could it be a hoax? Maybe, but it's subtle enough that it at least feels somewhat believable. The uploader wrote in the description, "I so bad want to believe it was a fairy, because how cool to have some proof. It wasn't a butterfly, surely not a bird." Again, share your thoughts down below. Did this person's security camera happen to capture fairies playing in their yard? This next clip was uploaded to YouTube by R.S. Johnson. She wrote in the description that her husband had recently set up a security camera in their garage, and while reviewing the footage, she noticed something unusual. In the bottom right-hand corner of the frame, a cat on a tree limb is chasing something. Then we see something else, a tiny flying creature. One of the figures crosses the screen to the right and another flies straight up in front of the center. This is a lot closer. If you pause it, the details are much clearer. I can definitely see why you'd think this looks fairy-like, especially with the glow coming off the light. It makes it look like Tinkerbell. And we have more CCTV footage for you. This one posted to YouTube by Jenny0786 Smith, who said, "Security camera was triggered. When we watched the CCTV, we couldn't believe what we saw." So, this guy is walking up to his house. We already see something flying above him, impossible to make out what it is, but he notices it as well, because after opening the door and taking a step inside, he pops back out to watch the thing, and then we notice there are actually a couple of them. One flutters out of the bottom of the frame and the other is floating above his head. And then they fly up right to the camera, and we get a much better look at these things. Looks pretty fairy-like to me. We can also see what looks like a small humanoid body attached to a pair of wings dancing through the air. This one comes from a woman named Miranda Sanchez on TikTok. She checked her living room security footage one day and saw something tiny and bright zipping across the room. On camera, it looks like a little figure flitting from the couch across the floor. Miranda herself didn't say it was definitely, a fairy, just that she saw something she couldn't really explain. The footage isn't blurry or half out of frame. You actually see the motion happening clearly, and the way it moves isn't what you'd expect from a normal bug or a light glare. Lots of people online who saw the clip said it really looks like a tiny creature just moving through the room. What sets this one apart from the others on the list is where it happened as well, inside a regular living room. And that alone is why a lot of viewers just couldn't scroll past it. This series of images comes from Reddit user DALewis92, who wrote, "These snapshots were taken on my home security camera under our carport. One photo is the day before, the next is the picture of the elf fairy thing, and the last later that morning. The camera records when there is motion. The first photo looks like our flag was blowing in the wind, and that's what caused it to record. The second is the elf. The third looks like my wife was captured on the bottom. I sent it to my brother saying I caught one of Santa's elves on camera, and he joked with me at first and wondered how I got the photo. Trying to be rational, I just wrote it off as a cat, but it's clear as day this isn't a cat. I know it's fairly blurry and hard to tell, but what does everyone think this is?" This video was taken by a fishing guide in Saskatchewan who spotted this massive wolf near his lodge. And I mean prehistorically massive, as if you need me to tell you that. Just look at it. The man spotted it from his window and decided to grab his camera. He stepped outside to get a better shot and the wolf backed off. But then it came back, and that's when his dog Trigger decided to chase after the thing. Waited for Trigger to turn her back, and in a blink it grabbed her by the hindquarters and tossed her in the air like a rag doll. That happens off camera because the guy rightly stopped filming and, went to save his dog. Luckily, the guy's buddy came out running with a shotgun, firing it into the air to break up the fight, and the wolf ran off. But not for long. It was bold enough to come back a couple more times. Luckily, there's no more trouble and the dog was okay aside from a few cuts. But things would have gone way worse if they hadn't scared the thing off in time. So this next clip comes from a Reddit user with the unforgettable name Panty Dinner 2003. The clip was captured in Louisiana. It starts off pretty normal. A couple guys are filming a field, catching some deer in the shot, along with a few dark shapes that look like dogs. So far, all good, but there's something that steps out of the trees, and it is not normal. This thing comes charging out of the woods, and it kind of looks like it's galloping, but it's definitely not a horse, and it sure isn't human either. It's got these long, creepy arms and seems to be running on all fours, but not in the way your typical four-legged animals do. This thing is off. Now, at first, I wasn't totally buying the laughter behind the camera, gotta be honest. I thought, all right, maybe this is staged, but I don't know. It could also be that nervous laughter, the kind people do when they're freaked out and just don't know how to process what they're seeing. What do you think? Weird animal? Skinwalker? Let me know which theory you're going with down in the comments. This next video comes out of Mexico. Two men came out to their back porch to find an owl acting very strangely. So strangely, in fact, they started to wonder if it was a shape-shifting witch or a bruja. A bruja is usually seen as a woman who uses magic, sometimes for good, sometimes for darker stuff. Some are said to cast curses and shapeshift. They show up a lot in ghost stories and creepy legends, especially in rural areas in Mexico. In some tales, a bruja might appear as an old woman, a mysterious animal, or a shadowy figure flying through the night. Now, the guys filming were kind of jokingly talking to this owl, asking if it was a bruja, but man, if the sun was down and you were alone and you saw this, I don't think you'd be asking that question in jest. I just do not like how this owl is moving, the way it starts stretching out its neck like that. Just no. Is it a scared or injured owl, or could there be something else going on here? This video was uploaded to TikTok by Jay Hayson, who simply wrote that these girls broke into his backyard and were watching him. Seems to me they were doing a lot more than just watching. One tells him to come out here, let's have fun. The other just cranes her net back, makes all these very unsettling faces, mostly just by opening her mouth all wide. And yeah, it seems like a great idea to go out there. Now, if this video is genuine, for one, it's very creepy. Those ladies were clearly not of sound mind at the time. And two, this was a very, very bad idea on the girls' parts. Don't break into people's backyards and stare at them. At best, you've scared a stranger in their own home. Worst case scenario, you get shot at and you die, especially if you're in America. Doesn't matter if this one's a guy in a costume or some kind of prank. This is the kind of thing that would make me pack up my whole life and move to a different country. The video was posted to TikTok by Fast Bites Horror, and according to the description, a traveler had stumbled across this freaky creature hiding in the shadows, perched up on a ledge, just glaring down at him. And the poor guy is so scared, he starts praying out loud. You can hear the fear in his voice. And while I may not be religious myself, if I saw this thing, I definitely would be. I'd be like, well, I guess Satan really does exist. In October of 2024, staff at the Bristol Zoo project were going through footage from their night vision camera traps when they found something really strange. In the middle of Bear Wood, a 7.5-acre enclosure where bears, wolves, wolverines, and lynxes roam, the cameras picked up a strange four-legged creature. It had what looked like wings and horns. Obviously, none of the zoo's animals matched it. And for weeks, people had been saying something strange was moving between the trees. Even the animals seemed spooked. Wolves and wolverines don't usually pay much attention to the usual wildlife like deer, but this time they did. They seemed spooked by something. Well, they still have no idea what this creature was. Some people think it's just a deer caught in like a weird angle, maybe with motion blur making the ears look kind of like wings, but others think maybe Bristol now has its own local legend. Well, it's not often we get news about Nessie, but here we are. Just back in January, something strange showed up on one of the live webcams overlooking Loch Ness. A regular visitor named Andy caught it moving near the shore, heading towards Sherry Island, then turning around and slipping back out into deeper water before vanishing. He said it was cruising along for a few minutes between 4:41 and 4:48 in the afternoon. Andy's been coming to Loch Ness since the late 80s. He's familiar with the environment and normal wildlife around the loch, but this was something else. The group that runs the webcam, Loch Ness Exploration, said the footage was worth sharing because it wasn't just another random wave or boat ripple. Whatever the thing was, it looked pretty big, and this isn't the first time. In August of 2023, an Irish Nessie fan named Owen O'Fadigan spotted something on a webcam as well. He described seeing a large black hump that popped up, moved across the water, then dipped back under as a boat got close. Owen said fish do not have wakes. The movement was uncharacteristic of a seal or an otter. Only the Loch Ness Monster is the obvious choice. What you're looking at here is a sonar image taken at Loch Ness on September 22nd, 2024. A skipper named Sean Sloggy was out on Loch Ness doing his usual rounds when something strange popped up on his sonar screen. Sean's been working these waters for years, but he's never seen anything quite like this. The strangeness of it was chilling. It's the sort of thing that leaves you speechless, he said. Sean was with maritime pilot Liam McKenzie that day, just getting ready for another boat to arrive, when the sonar suddenly lit up. There was a massive object sitting about 320 feet down. Sean's used to spotting all kinds of weird fish and shapes on sonar, but this thing was massive. The shape looked long and stretched out, and Sean noticed there were what seemed like air pockets inside, something you wouldn't normally see with regular fish or logs even. They tried to circle back and find it again, but whatever it was had completely disappeared. We're not sonar experts, but I've never seen anything like it, Sean went on to say. In October of 2015, a man named Dave Black was driving near a golf course in Little Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey, when he saw something that looked like a deer or maybe a llama walking along, but then it suddenly sprouted wings and flew off into the trees. Dave managed to snap a quick blurry photo on his phone though, and sure enough, there was this dark creature with big wings and what looked like hooves dangling beneath it. Dave had no idea what he was looking at. And when news of the photo came out, he stuck to his story, insisting that he was not trying to mess with anyone, that he really saw it and had no explanation. The photo blew up online and got everyone in New Jersey talking about the Jersey Devil again, a legendary winged creature that's supposedly haunted the Pine Barrens since the 1700s. Back in November of 2007, a Fresno homeowner known only as Jose to the media got spooked by his dogs barking at night, and he checked his security camera footage. He couldn't believe what he was looking at. The video shows this tall, skinny white figure gliding across his lawn, almost like living pants. There's no arms or torso, it's just long legs carrying a rounded quote-unquote head on top. Jose was pretty freaked. He woke his brother, saved the clip by pointing a camcorder at his monitor because the system would overwrite the footage. The story blew up after he shared it with Univision, and paranormal investigators also got involved. Even the History Channel covered it as part of fact or faked paranormal files and called it unexplainable. Then in 2011, similar footage was captured at Yosemite National Park showing two of these things together. One smaller, one larger. No one's ever figured out what they were. They're simply known as Fresno nightcrawlers. Now, I've seen some pretty convincing Sasquatch footage over the years, also some not so convincing stuff, but this video is either one of the most incredible pieces of Bigfoot evidence ever captured, or one of the best hoaxes. I'll let you decide, but I mean, look at this. It's not just some dark figure obscured by trees way off in the distance like so many other Sasquatch videos. A lot of people's first thought when they see supposed Bigfoot footage is, well, that's just a guy in a suit. In this case, it's more like, well, that's an actual ape in a tree. The way it moves, the length and shape of the arms, it looks like an actual animal, but apparently this was shot in the United States, so it doesn't really make sense for a gorilla to be chilling in a tree now, does it? Is it AI? Possibly. I know AI can be pretty convincing these days, but I don't see any obvious signs of it. There are no weird glitches, the video looks detailed and it's consistent, but as always, what are your thoughts? This next video clip comes from Moat Owens on TikTok, who captured something horrifying while riding through the woods. Now, what I like here is that Moat Owens doesn't post paranormal themed videos. He's into motorbiking, and that's what his videos are about. He films plenty of rides. It's just here, he happened to film something abnormal. The sun was starting to set as he made his way down the forest trail. Riding up to a fork in the road, he tries to decide what path to take before suddenly noticing how quiet and still it is. Moments before, there were crickets chirping, but out of nowhere, almost all the sound went dead.
It just got really quiet really fast.
And that's when he sees it. Creeping out of the brush is an oddly shaped, pale creature. As soon as he spots it, he revs up his bike and heads back the way he came. What exactly are we looking at in these images? Whatever this thing is, it's large and hairy. But it's clearly not a black bear. Doesn't look very squatch like either though. Instead, its head is kind of goat-shaped. That's why some believe this to be photographic evidence of a creature called the Maryland Goat Man. In Prince George's County, Maryland, especially the woods around Beltsville, people have described seeing this tall, upright creature with horns, hooves, and a full body covered in hair, part man, part goat. People have claimed to spot it standing in the road or just outside the trees. As for what it is and where it came from, there's a story. The most common version begins at the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center. Supposedly, a scientist was experimenting on goats, something went wrong, and he ended up turning into the creature himself. After that, the story says he disappeared into the surrounding woods and never left. Pretty ridiculous story, but is there some truth to the actual sightings? Is there some sort of goat-like creature roaming the woods? Who knows, but there are plenty of stories, and the goat man isn't just seen, he's also heard. People talk about strange calls at night, heavy footsteps in the trees. There are also stories about it going after cars, either chasing them or hitting them as they pass by. What you're looking at here is now infamous footage of a supposed male Sasquatch captured by a man named Todd Standing. Standing refers to this one as Jake. And this is a video of a female Squatch that he calls Jane. Todd Standing is one of the most talked about people when it comes to Bigfoot footage that shows, more than just a blurry shape. In the early 2010s, he started releasing these videos filmed in the wilderness of Alberta, showing Squatches up close. Not just something, running through the trees, but full faces sitting still looking at the camera. Say what you want about the authenticity, if this is a hoax, it's a pretty bold one. This footage really does stand out. The subjects in his clips don't move much, they stay in place, sometimes crouched, partially hidden by trees, watching. You can clearly see their facial features, the shape of the head and the eyes. You have plenty of time to study the video and come to your own conclusion. In 2017, Standing released a documentary called Discovering Bigfoot, where he explains how he got the footage. He says he spent years in remote areas learning how to move without being noticed, eventually getting close enough to film these encounters multiple times. According to him, these weren't one-off sightings. He had repeated interactions in the same areas, and even claimed to form a kind of bond with some of the creatures. He's also taken it further than just filming. In 2018, he filed a case involving the government of British Columbia, arguing that Sasquatch should be officially recognized and protected. The case didn't change anything legally, but it does show how serious he is about what he claims to have documented. What you're looking at here is known as the Marvin the Monster footage. It was actually lost media for a long time, but it resurfaced about 8 months ago. The story behind it is that in the early 60s, Shell Oil was using an underwater robot called Mobot to scan the seafloor off the coast of Santa Barbara, looking for oil deposits. During one of those runs, usually dated to February 1961 or 1962, the robot's camera picked up something very strange. Floating in the water was this large creature that didn't dart away or vanish after a few seconds. It stayed in view for more than an hour, slowly moving in a very specific spiral pattern. The thing didn't swim like a fish or drift like debris. It rotated and coiled in on itself over and over. Scientists who looked at the footage thought it might be some kind of colonial sea creature, which is basically a single organism made up of lots of tiny connected animals that kind of live and move together. But that was just an educated guess. We still don't really know what this thing was. The full recording was never officially released. Only fragments and isolated frames still exist. In 2000, the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office received 2 anonymous photos showing a large, hairy, ape-like creature. The letter that came with them was from an elderly woman who'd been noticing apples disappearing from her back porch. She claimed she snapped the pictures after spotting this creature, worried it might be an escaped orangutan. The images quickly earned the nickname Mayaka skunk ape, and are still some of the clearest images ever taken of not just the skunk ape, but any Bigfoot-like creature, in my opinion. At the time, a bunch of skeptics pointed out that the creature looks similar to a Bigfoot statue that used to be displayed at a Ripley's Believe It or Not museum, but looking at that statue, yeah, it's a pretty weak comparison. I mean, they're both hairy, but that's pretty much where the similarities end. Reports of the skunk ape go back to 1929, and there are still reports to this day. Since 2010, sightings have been recorded in 48 out of Florida's 67 counties. Back in 2022, a man named Henry Hayes was out jogging in Merrickville, Sydney, when he came across whatever the hell this thing is. It was sitting on the street after days of heavy rain. In Harry's own words, "My gut says it's some kind of embryo, but with the pandemic, World War III, and the floods going on right now, this could very well be an alien," end quote. He grabbed his phone and started poking the tiny creature with a stick. It didn't move at all. He posted the video to Instagram. Some people guessed it was a shark embryo or a mutated tadpole. Others agreed with the alien theory, but even biologists were puzzled by the thing. Elia Lisa, a zoologist, posted the pic herself saying, "Hey world, what is this thing? I thought possum/glider embryo, but I have no context or scale and none of my peers can agree. What is this? Hashtag mystery blob." And to this day, we still have no definitive explanation. This video comes from 2001, but it was shared online in April of 2006. I remember watching it in the very early days of YouTube. It was one of the first supposed Bigfoot videos I watched aside from the Patterson-Gimlin footage. And if you're looking for a creature caught clearly on camera, well, this is better than 90% of the Bigfoot caught on camera videos you'll find all over the internet. And it looks pretty convincing. The fur doesn't look like something you'd see on a cheap costume, and there's shape to the creature, and what looks like visible muscle under the fur. The footage was captured by a man named Harley Hoffman, who kind of went off the radar not too long after this video hit the web. Does that mean he hoaxed the whole thing and just didn't want to keep up the lie? Is the footage genuine, but he just had a hard time handling all the attention? Who knows? But when it comes to Sasquatch footage, this is still one of my favorite clips. This piece of footage was captured at a home in North Carolina. The video was posted to Reddit by Whole Negotiation 1843. The homeowners were terrified when they got a notification from their home security camera. They were expecting maybe a raccoon or something, but when they saw this pale, spindly thing, they immediately called the cops. As for what to report, well, at first they thought it was some naked dude crawling through the yard, but it didn't take them long to realize this thing did not look human. As for what it was then, the case has yet to be solved. So this is a photograph of a snake, of course, I mean, big deal. But the thing is, this image was supposedly captured from a helicopter. Here it is zoomed out. In August 1959, a Belgian military helicopter was heading back toward Kamina, flying over the Katanga region in what's now the Democratic Republic of the Congo. On board were pilot Colonel Remy Van Laird, along with 3 other men. One was an engineer named Adjutant Kint, who had his camera on him. From roughly 400 feet up, 2 of the men spotted something near a wrecked termite mound that looked like a fallen tree trunk. The problem was, it was moving. By the time they got Van Laird's attention, they'd already flown past it. So Van Laird turned the helicopter around and dropped lower. And that's when it became clear they were not looking at wood. It was a massive snake. Van Laird made several low passes while Kent rushed to get a photo. He managed one single shot before they were forced to leave, running low on fuel. And the last thing they wanted to do was land near that massive serpent. All 4 men estimated the snake at about 14 meters long, or around 45 feet. It sounded ridiculous, but locals already had a specific name for snakes that big. Normal pythons were called moma, but giants like this were known as pumina. One settler had reportedly run into one years earlier along a nearby railway line. Years later, Van Laird said the head lifted several feet and claimed that if they'd gone any lower, it could have struck the helicopter. The Appalachian Mountains, they have so many creepy legends and stories associated with them. Well, in this video, which was recorded somewhere in those mountains, a guy is sitting in his car in the middle of the night, but he's not alone. Something is lurking around his vehicle. You hear this low, animalistic grunting circling the car. It's right outside. And then we see it. Something pokes its head up and peeks into the window, which would have been rolled up immediately if I were in this situation, but I guess the guy just wanted some cool footage of what he thought was a mountain lion or something. The shape isn't totally clear, but it's close enough that you can tell it's not small. It lingers for a second, then pulls back out of sight. Before long, though, we get an even better look. The bright yellow eyes do scream mountain lion, but a lot of commenters have pointed out that the movement seems off, and you'd expect eye reflection at this angle, but I don't know. What do you think? Mountain lion or I don't know, cat person? Share your thoughts in the comments. A hairless, pointy-eared creature galloping through the desert smells like a chupacabra to me. What you're looking at here is one of the most well-known pieces of cryptid footage tied to the chupa. The video was filmed on August 8th, 2008 by a police officer named Brandon Rydell in DeWitt County, Texas. He was on patrol when he spotted something strange running along the road. At first glance, it looks similar to a coyote, but there are details that stand out right away. The body appears mostly hairless. The ears are large and upright, and the snout looks longer and more narrow. That snout in particular is what's caused the most confusion, and the way it moves also feels slightly off. The forelegs are slightly shorter than the hind legs, which is often how the chupacabra is described. After the footage got out, people started linking it to the chupacabra legend, a creature often blamed for slaughtering livestock, draining them of their B-L-O-D. This is one of the main videos people point to when that creature comes up, and for good reason. It's clear footage, you get a long look at the animal. Could it be a coyote with mange or something similar? Maybe, but the creature in this footage was never found, so it's hard to say for sure. This next video comes out of a small village in the Philippines, where back in April of 2024, a trail camera had been set up facing a river. Why had the camera been placed there? Well, supposedly locals have been whispering about eerie sightings nearby at night. Some were saying that dark spirits were lurking in the water, and if this footage is believed to be real, it seems there was some truth to those stories. Because poking out of the water are these ghoulish creatures. It's hard to make out the faces, because they're mostly submerged in the water, but we do see glowing eyes and what looks like long matted hair. They're incredibly creepy. They look like a cross between the ghost girl from Ringu and the creatures from Chud. Now, the story goes a number of people had gone out late at night by the river and never made it home. Are there rational explanations for those disappearances? Definitely, but is there also a chance that whatever these things are and in the water have something to do with it? Possibly. I'll let you be the judge. This is some of the most infamous internet-era cryptid footage ever captured. 2007, a man named Jose in Fresno, California, set up a security camera outside his house because his dogs kept barking at night. Were clearly disturbed by something in the yard. Well, what he caught on that camera is what people now call the Fresno Nightcrawler footage. The clip's pretty short, but you can see everything clearly. It's this small white figure walking across the yard. It doesn't have visible arms. There's no clear upper body or body at all. It's just kind of just looks like two long legs moving with a slow, steady gait. Now, of course, Jose had no idea what he was looking at. He tried to rationalize it, but couldn't land on a satisfying explanation, so he brought the footage to a local news station. That's how the video got out, and from there, it spread online. The version most people have seen is a recording of the original footage playing on a screen, which is why it looks slightly washed out. Jose never got an answer though. Nobody had a rational explanation for the footage aside from it being a hoax. But then in 2011, another clip showed up from Yosemite National Park. Different place, same kind of figure, or in this case, figures. There were two of them this time. White, leg-like shape, moving in that same slow, deliberate walk. In February of 2012, farmer Pyotr Cherov, I don't know if I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but I couldn't find a video of anyone pronouncing it online. Well, anyway, he's an elderly farmer. He set up a camera by a river feeding Lake Lagerflot in East Iceland. He ended up with some pretty crazy footage that's gone on to become the best possible video evidence of the mythical Icelandic lake monster known as the Langerflot worm. The video shows what looks like a serpentine creature drifting just under the icy water, maybe 30 to 90 feet long. The clip went viral around the world, even prompting a local panel to vote 7-6 that it was real and awarded him with a small cash prize. The Langerflot worm's been part of Icelandic folklore since the 14th century. Said to be this massive lake monster, sometimes said to be longer than a football field. In August of 2023, photographer Shay Kelly dropped a set of images she'd been holding on to since 2018. She and her husband had been having lunch at an inn on Loch Ness when she caught something gliding through the water about 200 meters offshore. Shay said it was moving, quote, right to left at a steady speed, spinning and rolling at times. We never saw a head or neck. After a couple minutes, it just disappeared and we never saw it again, end quote. At first, she thought it might be otters or a seal, but it never came up for air again and it just kept moving like a serpent, she continued. Steve Feltham, a well-known Nessie hunter who's been at this for over 30 years, called the photos the most exciting surface shots in decades, saying they are the most compelling surface images of the phenomenon. They still defy explanation. The images show two rounded humps rolling through the water. There's no obvious head or neck, but it definitely doesn't look like otters or divers. Whatever this really was, a Nessie or a massive eel, these are definitely some of the clearest and most intriguing Nessie photos possibly ever. In mid-2023, farmers near Oruro, Bolivia started spotting something weird roaming their fields. One drone video caught this hunched, dark figure standing upright in a crop field. Carlos Flores, who first spotted it in the footage, said, "It is strange. It looks like a dog, but it has a hump further back. Looking at the images, it has the same position as the chupacabra." Well, this creepy drone footage seemed to trigger fears that the legendary goat sucker had struck again, and a lot of that had to do with the timing of this. Farmers in the area had been finding dead livestock drained of their BLOOD. Some of them took to installing floodlights around their ranches, hoping to either scare it off or actually catch it on camera. The footage itself is not super clear. I mean, it's taken from very far away, but you can definitely see this dark hunched shape in the center of the frame, motionless at first, then shifting, almost like it realizes the drone is watching and scurries away. Imagine strolling on a Long Island beach and finding this thing washed up on the shore. Well, in July of 2008, a woman named Jenna Hewitt and two friends were walking along Ditch Plains Beach in Montauk when they came across this bloated, hairless corpse with a weird beak-like snout and long limbs. Jenna's friend Christina snapped the infamous photo, and the image blew up online within days. People couldn't figure out what it was. Some thought it was some kind of deformed raccoon, maybe a sea turtle without its shell, and of course, some people immediately jumped to secret government experiments. That's because this was pretty close to the old Plum Island Animal Disease Center. Some people were saying that maybe it escaped from some shady lab over there. No one ever officially confirmed what it was. To this day, people still argue about whether it was just a decomposed raccoon or maybe something else. Apparently, this next piece of footage was taken somewhere in Bolivia on April 20th of 2020. The video starts off pretty normal. You see a nice view of the trees, you hear birds in the background, but then you notice it. There's something hovering in the sky. It's not a bird, there's no flapping of wings, plus it's way too big to be a bird anyway. It's certainly not a plane. The object seems to just drift downward, slowly making its way toward the trees before finally vanishing into the tree line. Now, what could it be? A drone? Well, the object is far away, but still pretty easy to make out. This would have to be a pretty sizable drone, right? Well, I don't know. What do you think? Let us know down in the comments. This first piece of footage was just captured back in August, and take a look at this thing. Gotta say, whatever this tiny creature is, it does really look kind of fairy-like. Comes from a home security camera in British Columbia, Canada, owned by a man named Steve McBeath. He wasn't hunting for mythical creatures, of course. His cameras are there to catch burglars or raccoons, but one night the camera captured something unlike anything he'd ever seen before. Outside of storybooks, that is. The camera is pretty straightforward. Whenever it detects motion, Steve gets a notification on his phone, and it will tell him if it's an animal or a person. Most of the time, it's nothing all that interesting. All sorts of critters are constantly moving past it, he said, explaining he'd seen cats, dogs, raccoons, and deer go by on a regular basis. There have been a few serious moments though. Steve says the camera once caught someone trying to open his car and pull on the handle of his back door. So when his phone buzzed one night with a familiar alert, his stomach dropped. It said it saw a person, Steve said, but it was not a person. When he pulled up the footage, he saw this bright glowing shape cross the frame, and suddenly turn upward and fly straight toward the camera. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. It was bizarre. It looked kinda humanoid, he said. Steve described it as being very eerily lit, with a shimmering silver color. Watching it back, it's easy to see why people immediately started calling it a fairy. Steve eventually chalked it up to something mundane, probably an insect, but he posted the clip online thinking people would get a kick out of it, and well, here we are, so he was right. A lot of people said it reminded them of Tinkerbell from Peter Pan, but the most heartwarming part of this story is the joy Steve took in showing his grandchildren the clip for the first time. And he went on to say, just look for things that are unusual. You never know where something like this is going to pop up and be a bit of fun. And this is a fun video too. It comes from a man named Erwin Saunders in Britain. Saunders actively goes out into nature looking for fairies and elves, and he carries a camera with him every time. In the video, Erwin heads deep into the forest and just films. For the first few minutes, it's pretty quiet, but then he spots something. He points the camera toward a rocky area ahead of him and keeps filming. A little later, he says there's something watching him from above the rocks, and carefully adjusts the camera again. Watch carefully and you'll see this little head poking out. But after a few moments, we see this. A small creature pops out from behind the rocks. It's only out for a few seconds, but we see it long enough to know it's not a normal animal, but it peeks the way an animal does when it's curious but shy. It's adorable. I just can't say how badly I want this to be real. This next video went viral in the early days of YouTube. The uploader was filming his kids who were visiting friends. Most of the video is just the kids showing dad around the yard, talking about where they play, talking about all the animals that live in certain spots. Then they reach an apple tree, and one of the kids spots a strange insect. As dad gets closer with the camera, he spots it. At first, it looks like a dragonfly, but it quickly becomes clear it isn't. Now, keep in mind this video was uploaded in 2008, well before your average person could just have an AI spit something like this out, so it's a well done video. I'm not sure exactly where this video comes from originally, but based on the camera quality, it looks to be from the early days of YouTube. Some kids are messing around with a soccer ball, trying to balance it on their feet, and then this happens. I don't know if you caught that, so here it is slowed down a bit. So this small creature makes its way across the floor. It's hard to make out what it is. It could easily be a rat or something, but the title of the video mentions a gnome, and a lot of commenters mentioned it looks like this thing is wearing a small pointy hat. And this next one is pretty similar. Just like the last video, it comes out of Mexico. We see a young girl possibly celebrating her birthday. As she goes to walk into the next room, she sees something and immediately starts to scream. Again, there's this small, gnomish looking creature walking across the floor. You can easily say it was, some kind of rodent if it weren't for the pointy pink hat it was wearing. But I don't know, maybe it's just a rat carrying a party hat. This one happened in Chester, England, a quiet little city near the border with Wales. Lucia Cardaro, a 37-year-old songwriter and mom, was just getting into bed after 11 p.m. when she heard a motorbike revving on the corner outside. And then came a sudden thump on her living room window. She thought someone had thrown something at it. She checked her CCTV footage, and that's when she saw it. This tiny winged figure flitting past the camera. According to Cardaro, quote, "When I looked on the camera, I thought, that's a bit odd. If that's a butterfly, it looks a lot like a fairy, but I mean, what are the chances? It's very strange. I was rewinding and rewinding and rewinding, but the more I saw it, the more I was convinced. When I showed my 4-year-old son, he said, 'Wow, do you think it's going to go back to Father Christmas and tell him I'm a good boy?' There was no doubt in his mind." These images have been floating around online forever. They show what looks like a tiny fairy corpse laid out on a forensics table, complete with wings, teeth, skin, and hair. It's most amazing top 10. We had to add like a dead one on this list. It can't all be whimsical. Anyway, supposedly it is a mummified fairy. When the image first hit the web in 2007, people lost their minds. It all started with a dramatic press release titled, "Do Fairies Live at the Bottom of Your Garden?" According to the story, an anonymous man was walking his dog along an old road in the Derbyshire countryside in England. His dog started barking and refusing to go near an Iron Age burial mound. The man said, quote, "He was barking in the direction of the barrow and would not go anywhere near it, which was strange as we walked past it almost every day. So curious, he approached the mound and noticed this fresh crack in the ground. When he leaned in and shined a small LED torch inside, he claimed he saw something. I could see a human-like form, only this was much smaller," he said. His first thought was that, it might be a child's body, until he realized it was too small, and more importantly, it had what appeared to be wings. He carefully pulled it out using a stick and placed it in a dog waste bag. and then he called for his wife. When she arrived, she later recalled seeing a, quote, tiny but perfect mummified human body with hair, dark brown skin, and most disturbingly, wings. Even stranger, they claimed there were more bodies still inside the mount, possibly over 20. The remains were said to have been examined, photographed, x-rayed, and investigated. People were going nuts online, of course. They were skeptical, sure, but even just the slim possibility that these were the remains of an actual creature, it had people pretty excited. But 1 week later, the creator came clean. In a follow-up statement, he said, "Alas, the fairy is fake. As well as an artist I am, also a magician, and you have been my fantastic audience." But for this brief little window, people believed, and that's kind of fun. And we're gonna have to talk about the most famous fairy caught on camera story in history, the Cottingley fairies. So way back in 1917, in a quiet village in England called Cottingley, two cousins, Elsie Wright, who was 16, and Frances Griffiths, who was just 9, would disappear for hours playing by a little stream behind Elsie's house. Whenever they came back all muddy, they'd say the same thing every time. They were out watching fairies. Eventually, the adults got tired of hearing it, so one day the girls grabbed Elsie's dad's camera and went back to the stream. When the photos were developed, everyone's jaw dropped. The first pictures showed Frances sitting by the water, surrounded by tiny, dancing, winged figures. A second photo showed Elsie posing with a small, gnome-looking creature stood nearby. Elsie's father immediately called it nonsense. He assumed the girls had pulled some kind of prank, but Elsie's mother believed them. The pictures eventually landed in the hands of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the guy who created Sherlock Holmes. Instead of debunking them, he went all in. In 1920, Doyle published the photos in the Strand magazine, presenting them as real evidence that fairies existed. This caused a huge split. Some people were fascinated, fully believed it. Others were just furious that anyone could take it seriously. But photographic experts at the time were saying that the images had not been tampered with. The truth didn't come out until the early 80s. More than 60 years later, both women finally admitted that the photos were faked. The fairies were cardboard cutouts copied from a popular children's book, carefully placed in the scene. They held them upright with hat pins. For a while, though, even with skeptics, I'm sure there was always this tiny bit of, maybe not doubt, but hope that these images were real. It captured people's imagination for decades. This is known as the Corfu Island creature, sometimes called the Grecian dolphin. It was first mentioned in 2015 after this strange photo started spreading online, taken off the coast of Greece. We see what looks like some sort of dolphin-like thing breaking the surface, but it's obviously not a normal-looking dolphin. The photo was taken near Parga by a Scottish tourist named Harvey Robertson. He was on a boat tour with his family, drifting through the sea caves, just trying to photograph the usual green color of the water. He didn't notice anything strange at the time, but later, while looking through his phone, he realized he'd caught something. In one photo, a gray shape rises out of the water. In the next, it's gone. Robertson said it looked like an elongated manatee. Some people just call this one a hoax, of course. Others think it may have actually been a real creature, though, some sort of mutated animal. There's also another theory that this could be a surviving Ambulocetus, an extinct ancestor of whales. Here's some more well-known Sasquatch footage. Help, I think I saw a skunk ape. On October 28th, 2013, a Mississippi hunter named Josh Highcliffe uploaded an unsettling video to his YouTube channel. According to him, the footage was taken just west of Tunica, Mississippi. What he caught on camera looked like a large, dark, bipedal creature crouched low and almost hidden inside what appeared to be a hollow tree stump. At first, Highcliffe didn't think much of it, saying, "Initially, I thought it was a pig. Then I noticed these broad shoulders and a head held high with its hands. There was this huge black monster crouching near a dead cypress tree about 50 meters away. I immediately got scared and wanted to run away. I didn't even think about shooting. However, as soon as I realized that nobody would believe me, I felt like time had stopped. So he pulled out his phone and started recording, but then it stood up. And as it rose, it was suddenly clear how big this thing actually was. That's when Highcliffe panicked and took off. This series of images have become some of the most infamous sea monster photographs in history, aside from the Nessie photo we've all seen 600 times. Back in December 1964, a Frenchman named Robert Laseric was crossing Stonehaven Bay near Hook Island, Queensland, with his wife, kids, and his first mate. They just bought a motorboat and were basically living island life for a few months. While drifting over a shallow lagoon, Laseric's wife noticed something sitting on the bottom. It was massive, dark shape, stretched out and completely still. Laseric later described it as around 30 feet long, shaped like a giant tadpole. Smooth skin, no fins, no spines, no visible teeth, mostly black with faint stripes. Everyone on board thought it was dead, long enough that they actually got into the water to try and film it, and that's when it moved. As Laseric approached with the camera, the creature opened its mouth and started gliding toward them. They bolted back to the boat, and by the time they regrouped, the animal was gone. Photos of the creature spread in newspapers and magazines and quickly became infamous. Were these genuine images of an unknown sea creature, or was it just a case of clever angles? Or plastic sheets, shaped and weighted underwater? Some said it may have been a giant swamp eel, but those rarely exceed 5 feet. And finally, we come to the undisputed king of unexplained creatures captured clearly on camera, the Patterson-Gimlin Sasquatch footage. Yes, it's been talked about to death, but not by me. This is actually the first time I've talked about the footage on this channel, which is impressive considering how many Bigfoot videos I've done. What can I say? This is still the best piece of video evidence we have for the creature. The camera is steady. We get a nice long shot of it walking across an open stretch of land. There's no trees blocking the view. It's not captured from too far away. There's just a reason why this is not just the best Bigfoot footage ever captured, but the best cryptid footage in general. There's still debate to this day as to how authentic this is. I've heard convincing arguments on either side, and it's really the continuing conversation surrounding this footage that's kept this one alive. People have analyzed every frame of this video, examining the creature's odd gait, what looks like muscle moving under the fur. Hoax or not, it's a damn intriguing piece of footage, and that's why it's at the top of this list.